The time is 7:13 p.m. and I'm calling to order the Baldwin Park City Council regular meeting. And then do we have anybody in the... I see Pastor Jackson. Pastor Jackson, do you mind leading us in an invocation? Sorry, Pastor Jackson, you turn on your microphone.
On giving you praise, glory, and honor and thanksgiving. Thank you for Baldwin Park and all their citizens that are here, Lord. We thank you for the city council and the mayor to work out what they need to do for Baldwin Park and making this a great city. We're asking you, Lord God, in the world situation that is at hand right now, there's a turmoil. We're asking you for peace, Lord, even in our own nation, bringing unity and peace. We thank you for touching our schools, Lord, and many youngsters that are here, Lord, that will grow up to be citizens, Lord God, in this great city and elsewhere, Lord, and giving them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in what to do. Same with this city council. We thank you, Father, for our police department and our fire department. We have diversities of vocation, Lord, but we need you right in the midst of it. We need you with our children and our parents and children coming together in our school district and our businesses in Baldwin Park. So we're asking you to put your mighty hand up on them. In the name of the Lord we pray. Amen.
All right. Thank you for that. And just want to acknowledge Pastor Jackson, and I know that you were out last week. I just want to let you know that myself, my colleagues in the city is here to support you. And then we do have a roll call. City Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Estrada?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian?
Here.
Councilmember Avila? Here. Councilmember Garcia?
I think she's trying to log in, FYI.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Present.
Thank you.
Contreras is here.
And of course, we can't forget our city treasurer, Marie Contreras. Hi, Marie. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you. Same.
Good. Glad to have you with us. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We do have a packed house today, so just bear with us. We do have the certificates in recognition of the All-Star champions, and it's presented to the Baldwin Park American Little League Softball All-Stars team. So, of course, we want to show them we are incredibly excited and proud of them. And if you can just carefully make your way up here with us, we want to make sure we give you your certificates and take a nice picture with you. And then, coaches, if you can help me hand out these certificates, that would be incredibly helpful. And just a couple of stats. So the 10-year-old softball All-Stars team won districts, sectionals, and competed in the SoCal Regionals. 12-year-old softball All-Star teams won Tournament of Champions and districts. And the 14-year-old softball All-Star team won districts and made it to the semifinals in SoCal Regionals. All right. So do we have everybody up here? Who has? I think Councilmember Hernandez has the 14-year-olds. Is that correct? All right. You want to go ahead and start off? Yeah. Let's see. I have the minors. So why don't we start off with the minors? So we'll start off with the minors, and then we'll go up from there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hand you the certificates. So first we have the coach, Javier Farias. Have Alfred Mena. Lino Elizalde. Related to Valentina Elizalde. Related to Valentina Elizalde. We have Bethany Barajas. Savannah Mena. Annabelle Farias. Jasmine Macias. Lauren Elizalde. Have Brielle Mendoza. Ella Gutierrez. Natalie Peralta. Emily Velasquez. Melanie Fernandez. Jessica Rosas. And have Isabella Arellano.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and this is for the major division. This is the 12-year-olds all-star team. Can I hear it for the 12-year all-star team? Let me hear just the parents of this group. Okay. You have the coach. Coach, you want to come up here? Amador Ortega. Brianna Ortega. Not here. Alejandra Barajas. Diana Mendoza. Bessie Rojas. Destiny Yanes. Beatriz Rosas. Maya Farias. Isabella Ortega. Andrea Mendoza. Sofia Aguayo. Jocelyn Morales. And Ariana Gutierrez. And one more time.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead. You guys want to scoot over? Next team.
Add real quick here. Coach, come on up. Excellent. And now we're going to do the Baldwin Park American Little League 14 and up all-star team. Your division. And first and foremost to our coach, Faustino Rodarte. Yes. Kayla Ignat. Yes. Adrian Alvarado. Jasmine Soria. We have Daisy Obaya. We have Emmy Montezuma. We have Nayila Lopez. Estrella Lopez. We have next Jocelyn Boone. Sofia Hirogin. Then we have Dixie Cervantes.
Wow, some great names. Great pronunciation. We're very excited to have you all here with you and celebrate your children and your teams. Here, we're very excited to support everybody and anybody. We've partnered with our school districts, and we want to make sure that we support every single entity out there that is keeping our children busy in a positive way, making sure that they are becoming healthy and growing individuals that are going to develop into a healthy and great Baldwin Park leaders. So give yourself a round of applause for being great parents. And of course, your teams and your coaches who are out here dedicating it and making Baldwin Park proud.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again for everybody that has taken the time to make a difference in these students' life. I know the parents, it's not easy, but you are there for them no matter what. I think these girls will appreciate it if they don't already do. In time, they will see everything that you as parents do for them so they can be successful. Because of you parents, they're able to get to practices. They're able to go to their games. You make sure that they're fed so they have energy out there, and you keep pushing them to be motivated. So thank you, parents, because without you, they would not be up here. Girls, give your parents a big hand. And to the coaches, because they're out here, they're volunteering their time. They don't have to be doing this, but they care. They care about our children. They care about our community. So they take the time out of their own busy schedule, time away from their own families to be here to make sure that your girls are successful. So give the coaches a big hand also. And to the whole Baldwin Park community, together we can accomplish anything. So if we stick together, work together, motivate each other, and support each other, we can continue to do this. Thank you, girls, and congratulations.
First and foremost, let's see the hands for the team moms and the team dads. Come on. Come on. Who are the team dads, team moms? Gracias. I always like to recognize them because when I played Little League, it was the Capri Suns that I enjoyed. That's the only reason I went to practice. That was a bribery for me to enjoy that. So again, thank you to the parents, the coaches, and all those that support them. Because today is a day of success to illustrate how proud we are of our young women and future leaders of our community. So with that, I want to say thank you for being here. And more importantly, next time, tell us that the dress code is to wear Converse or Vans, all right? Because that's the theme that I'm seeing here. We all have them. We could have done it. So with that, again, gracias. I wish to see the future of your successes, and we'll see you here in the coming years. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, yes, and then we do have our Mayor Pro Tem and I believe our Councilwoman on Zoom. So Mayor Pro Tem and Councilwoman, if you would like to make any comments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just want to say congratulations to all of our young ladies that made it to the All-Stars and that won the All-Star tournament, to our coaches, our team mobs, because without them, after those games, those kids need those drinks to hydrate. So I want to say thank you and congratulations to all of you.
Yes, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to congratulate these extraordinary young women in our community. I want to congratulate each and every one of you for the excellent job that you have done in representing your city. And I want to congratulate you as a team and, keep on working together as a team and see how far you can go. I also want to thank our coaches and our parents and those caretakers out there in the audience. As has been mentioned by my colleagues, you set the foundation, you make it happen for these youth to shine and to aspire to great heights. And so, girls, I hope that you really appreciate all that your parents and your caretakers do for you. And don't forget to say thank you. And we recognize all of you for your very favorable contribution to our community. Thank you.
All right, and here comes our favorite part. So we're gonna ask all the athletes up here and coaches to squeeze in a little bit so we could take a nice picture. I'd tell the parents, but I don't think we all fit up here. Yeah, so you know what? If you can try it. Want to put the parents up here? And then parents, if you want to join us, you can line up right here in front of us. We'll make sure everybody fits. We'll Photoshop you in if we have to.
And the other banner on this side. Okay.
All right. And now, looks like everybody's wide awake today. We're going to go ahead and celebrate our outgoing HR manager, Laura Thomas. Laura, if you want to come up here and join us. So I have a brief biography here for Laura. So Laura has spent virtually all of her career in public service, both at the federal and local government level. After obtaining her master's in public administration and a minor in human resources administration, she began working for the federal government and later launched a professional career in human resources at the city of Los Angeles. In the city of Los Angeles, Laura worked in almost every facet of human resources and worked in several departments supervising risk management, hiring and selection, classification, employee relations, and employee development activities. In November of 2017, Laura joined the Baldwin Park family as a human resource risk manager. For 5 years, she directed the activities of the Human Resource Department and developed a valuable partnership with the executive team, managers, supervisors, and employees to achieve important work objectives. She was also able to utilize her coaching certification expertise and provided performance coaching to employees and managers on an as-needed basis, which yielded positive outcomes. Under Laura's leadership, the Human Resource Department became a customer-focused operation who prioritized the needs of the departments as well as the city manager and city council. During her tenure with the city of Baldwin Park, Laura spent a lot of energy mentoring staff and sharing her expertise with the team and made many training and development opportunities available to the department. Her staff became well-rounded in many aspects of human resources. They attended national conferences, local training workshops, and enrolled in IPMA certification training. After working almost 35 years in public service, Laura will be retiring on September 15th, and she's headed off to Atlanta, Georgia, where she and her husband, who recently retired, will be spending time having fun and relaxing. So we want to go ahead and, of course, applaud for Laura Thomas. And celebrate. We want to celebrate her and her achievements here in the city of Baldwin Park and for helping us hold down the fort for 5 years. We know that city government is sometimes complex place to be, but we're glad you held through, and we wish you the best during your retirement. We know you have Georgia on your mind, so I'm sure you're going to blast that song on your way there. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to my council members, my colleagues. If you guys have any comments for Laura.
Go ahead.
Laura, it's been a fantastic pleasure working with you, not only for these past 4 years, but also when we worked in the city of Los Angeles. You may not remember it, but I think in 2015, when we rolled out the Disaster Service Worker Program in Los Angeles for each of the various employees that we did back then. My experience is nothing but professionalism, excellence, and commitment to delivering a great product for city employees. As our frontline protector, right? Not only of harassment claims and things of that nature, you're also there to make sure that we support our employees, to make sure that they have the proper trainings, to be uplifted and to be able to move forward within the city, and encourage them to all assets of those type of opportunities for our city, for our employees. Because ultimately, when they're producing a good job, they're producing a great service for our residents. So with that, thank you. Enjoy your time in Georgia, and we'll be seeing you. I'm sure this won't be the last time we see you. So it's never a goodbye. It's never a goodbye.
Well, Miss Laura, I haven't known you as long as Councilmember Hernandez. However, I understand how complex human resources can be. And especially when you have so many different departments that you have to make sure that policies are in order, that everybody's following the right direction, the right policies. I think the hardest part is when you have to bring them in when you know they're not following those policies. So I commend you for doing that. It's definitely not an easy job, but it is a very important job. I feel it's the core of any organization, because if HR fails, then we fail, because you make sure, like I said before, that everything is running smoothly, according to law, that employees and staff are treated properly, and that we're abiding by the law when it comes to discrimination, what have you. There's so much involved. I want to thank you. After all those years of service, you deserve a retirement, and I understand you have a lot of family out in Georgia, so you get to reunite with them. You will miss California, I'm sure, but you can be back and visit. Know that you have a family here in the city of Baldwin Park, and we thank you for everything you have done to us. Good luck to you.
Laura, I want to say, I know I've only been with you for about a year and 9 months, almost 2 years, but my experiences with you has always been professionalism. You've always answered the call when I reached out to you. So I want to say thank you for being there. Thank you for being there for our staff. I want to wish you nothing but the best, Laura. And like Councilmember Avila said, here is your home. So when you want to come back, don't forget to stop by and visit us. So wishing you all the best and good luck in Georgia.
Hi, Laura. I just wanted to chime in and echo everybody's comments. It has been a pleasure to work with you and to see you, just do such great things here in our city. Great work, great professionalism, always. And we will miss you, but I wish you the very best as you embark on this new chapter, a very exciting chapter in your life. And I hope that it is, as fulfilling as your career has been, and I'm sure that it will be. So enjoy retirement, and I have a feeling you'll be very active and just doing a lot of good work for yourself, for your family, and I'm sure your community out in Georgia. So best of luck to you, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi. I just we have a little something for you. We want to present you with your own street sign.
All right. Let me just give her the plaque, and then the floor is all yours. So, Laura, with the signage comes great responsibility. Don't go trying to name streets after yourself, okay? So, Laura J. Thomas, Human Resource Risk Manager, November 2017 to September 2022. In recognition of close to 5 years of service with the City of Baldwin Park, we commend you for the unconditional dedication you have given to colleagues, all city employees, and our entire community. Thank you for all the hard work you committed to making the HR department operate efficiently. We wish you a happy and blessed retirement. September 7th, 2022, Emmanuel J. Estrada, Mayor, Daniel Damian, Mayor Pro Tem, Council Members Alejandra Avila, Monica Garcia, and Posse Hernandez. Of course, our City Treasurer, Maria A. Contreras, and our City Clerk, Marlon Garcia.
I don't have words. Wow. I'm blown away by those positive comments. Council. I mean, thank you. Man, I really don't have words. But I mean, I'm just excited, and I feel honored to, what, a street sign? I'm really trying to process that right now. I don't know what to do. I mean, no, seriously, I have truly enjoyed working the City of Baldwin Park. It really does feel like a family here, and I've gotten nothing but support from city manager on down, all the council members, the directors, employees, managers, so supportive. And they've heard me say this. This is not the first time. I've been saying this still like a broken record, but I tell them, and I even sent an email not too long ago too, just to thank them for just everything that they've done. You helped to make my job easier. Now, sometimes I would pull my hair out. I'm serious. You know, sometimes I was under a lot of pressure and trying to balance the needs of everyone, and that's really hard sometimes. But it's good to know that you were feeling good about what we were trying to do as a department, and I just hope, and I know the department will continue to do good things. And there's so many more things I wanted to do, but they all have my phone number. Everybody does, and they know. And I mean, honest to God, I really want you to call me if you need something, or just if you want to hear my voice. I don't know, maybe you just want to. But if you really need anything that you do need, I mean that. I want to remain in touch with all of you. And I do just feel part of a family, and family doesn't just go, you know, part of the family, I'm not going to just disappear. You know, I'm just here and still connected to all of you. And so just thank you. I mean, I'm just like, wow, I'm kind of blown away by by this. So is there any money in here? No, you know, they help me travel to Georgia for gas, and you know, but no, they know. I'm always joking. This is wonderful. This is really wonderful, and thank you so much. I enjoy working with you, and let's just stay connected. That's the main thing. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody out there too. Oh yeah, picture. No, I want sign. Yes.
You're gonna have to pay extra to get that.
Hold it on, guys. Let's see. I'm gonna do my sign.
I'll bounce it out.
Ricardo, do you mind taking pictures? Our commissioner will take pictures.
All right, so we want to congratulate Laura. Enjoy your sign, enjoy your plaque, enjoy your retirement. I'm sure we will see you when we visit Georgia. We have a free stay at your house, right? All right.
Enjoy life overall.
Yes. All right, so we are going to go ahead and open public communications. Chief Deputy City Clerk, is there any cards people filled out?
Yes, Mayor, we have a few speakers. The first is Laura Franklin, Commissioner Laura Franklin.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Estrada, Mayor Pro Tem Damian, via Zoom, and other council members. Just a quick thing that I'd like to mention. I I've been a housing commissioner since February 2022, and so I'm just coming forward to appeal to my current Baldwin Park members in the audience, as well as to ask them to apply so that we can get a quorum, so that we can, as commissioners, to get started with the housing. There are 2 of us currently, and we are definitely looking for more to come aboard just to apply through the Baldwin Park website. But I also wanted to know if there was a campaign or strategy that would go forth to recruit more or do more outreach via either the Baldwin Park website, newsletter, or the local paper that we get daily. So that's my appeal. Thank you.
I'll be in contact with you, Commissioner. Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Christian Sigüenza. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Sigüenza, but nobody gets it right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Christian Sigüenza. I currently work at Kaiser Baldwin Park, and I work in the laboratory. Today, I'm here to plead for the $25 minimum wage. I want to support it, and I want you to support it. And there's a reason why. Right now, housekeepers don't make a livable wage. Not just housekeepers, but cafeteria people, personnel. They deserve to make a livable wage, a wage where they can provide for their basic needs. Personal experience, for example, my mother-in-law is a housekeeper. Unfortunately, she doesn't work in an area where there is a union, where there's a minimum. These housekeepers don't have enough to provide for just general emergencies, life emergencies. An example is a couple years ago, she was diagnosed with cancer. Unfortunately, she doesn't make a livable wage. She was making $13, $14 an hour. That caused her to build up a ton of debt. Luckily, my wife and I, we both work at a facility where we are union, and we make a livable wage. We both work, and we make above the 25, and we were able to help her out. But that is only one example of thousands of people that cannot afford just basic needs. Basic needs like paying rent, buying food, or providing health care for themselves or their children. And I plead to you to please pass this ordinance and raise the minimum wage, especially after corporations are making billions in profits. $25 is not a lot to ask for these employees. Thank you.
The next speaker is Gabriel Montoya.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. My name is Gabe Montoya, and I am an EMT here in LA County at Kaiser Downey, and I'm also an executive committee member for SEIU-HW, and I represent all the members here tonight. What I want to do is talk to you about why this is important and why we need to see through the smoke, right? The reason being is that healthcare workers serve a special way in each of our communities. They serve a special place that requires them to do a job that they face dangers in that most people do not have to face on a daily basis. Whether these workers are doctors, or they're serving food, or they're cleaning a room, they all face the same danger. And it should never be that the people who come out every day and serve these communities in a way that the past 2 years have proven to really be brave and necessary should never, ever have to really fight in order just to survive and make basic needs. I've said this before here, and I'll say it again. Us as healthcare workers never come in to do this to get rich. but we at least expect to survive while we're doing it. We're going to hear from people tonight who refer to us as healthcare heroes. We don't want to be called healthcare heroes. Instead, what we want to be done is treated like healthcare workers who have a chance to be treated with dignity. Pizza parties and pepperoni pizza ain't going to do it. They're not going to pay the bills, and they're not going to keep people in this industry. There are workers here in this city who can go work at a Panda Express, at a fast food restaurant, at a retail store, and get paid either the same amount or above that without having to deal with COVID, without having to deal with the Los Angeles County state of emergency for monkeypox, without having to deal with the emotional attachment that you have when you work with patients every single day. They could do that, but what they do is they continue to serve this community. And so there's going to be people here from the CHA and other organizations that are going to talk to you about why they support us, but they don't believe we deserve this. What I want to say to that is when they're gone, these workers will still be down the street doing the job that they came to do. And on top of that, I also want to say, for all the talk of equity that we're going to hear from opponents in this room, let me make it clear, they had the ability and they had the time to really make a deal with the state and us to get this done, but instead, it died because people wanted to talk about subcontracting and paying workers less than what they're worth, which would undercut our workers' ability to make a living wage at the minimum wage should it pass. So we don't want to hear about equity. Let's really talk about what matters. And what really talks about what matters is that these workers in Baldwin Park have the ability to survive every day and do what's best, not only for themselves, but their families, and the opportunity that this could provide for Baldwin Park residents who go into healthcare. Thank you.
The next speaker is Omar Hernandez.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Omar Hernandez, and I work at Kaiser Baldwin Park in environmental services as a housekeeping attendant. I am here to support a $25 minimum wage for healthcare workers. I want to represent not only my department, but also all of the starving students at Kaiser that would benefit from this change. Along with inflation, school has not gotten any cheaper. Working at Kaiser, I believe in building a better future, and passing this ordinance will have a huge impact. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Norris Cotto.
Good evening. My name is Norris Cotto, and I worked in EVS at Kaiser Baldwin Park for 5 years. And throughout the pandemic, I support the minimum wage for $25 because we work hard for our community. We risk our lives during the pandemic to do this work, and we are making living wages. Please pass this ordinance and support healthcare workers in the city of Baldwin Park. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jose Martinez, and he will need an interpreter.
Buenas noches, mayor y miembros del Consejo de Baldwin Park. Mi nombre es José Luis Martínez, trabajo en Baldwin Park, Kaiser Baldwin Park por 2 años. He trabajado durante la pandemia arriesgando mi vida por $20 la hora.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the City Council members. My name is Jose Luis Martinez. I work at Kaiser Baldwin Park for 2 years, and I've worked during the pandemic there, risking my life.
Hay veces que no tenemos suficiente personal y tenemos que trabajar a veces doble turno, dobles horas para mantener las habitaciones desinfectadas y listas para ser usadas, especialmente en estos días tan ocupados por la pandemia.
I've been risking my life for less than $20 pay. And sometimes I work a double shift and have to work double the hours to disinfect the rooms, especially because they are in high need to be used right now and during the pandemic.
No es justo tener que hacer ese trabajo mientras luchamos para pagar el alquiler, la renta, los biles, la comida, gasolina. Por favor, les ruego que aprueben la iniciativa de los $25 por hora, puesto que yo estoy haciendo mi trabajo lo mejor que puedo, pensando muchas veces en que no quisiera yo que algún miembro de mi familia llegara y no estuviera desinfectada la habitación. Pero si algún día llegaran ellos a estar enfermos, que ellos se sientan seguros y todos ustedes, que nosotros hacemos el trabajo lo mejor posible que podemos. Damos lo mejor de nosotros. Gracias.
I think it is unfair that we have to work and have to fight in order to pay our rent, our bills, groceries, and all expenses. I beg of you to approve the initiative that would make a $25 an hour wage in order that I can do my job the best way possible. When I do this, I think of members of my family who might come to need a room sometimes, and what if it has not been disinfected for them, for you, or for any person that needs it? I would like to be able to do my job in the best way possible and to do what is best. Thank you.
Thank you. Buenas noches.
Good night and thank you.
The next speaker is Paulina Rivas.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Paulina Rivas. I've worked in the pediatrics department at Kaiser Baldwin Park for about 5 years. With more and more workers leaving for higher paying jobs, we are all doing the work of 2 or 3 people. It makes it hard to do our job to the level of care that we want to provide for our members. Healthcare workers are burnt out and traumatized from the pandemic, and now we are also dealing with monkeypox. Please pass the $25 minimum wage today to retain and attract more healthcare workers in the city of Baldwin Park. Thank you.
Next speaker is Maria Munoz.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Miriam Munoz. I grew up here in Baldwin Park. I've been working for Kaiser for 17 years, and I'm here to ask for you to pass the ordinance for the 25 minimum wage, specifically for those who are not making that. They risk their lives day in and day out. They work double, and without them, my job would be that much harder. They make sure that patients receive the cleanliness that they deserve in order not to leave with something that they didn't come in with, which does happen. They are overworked and underpaid, and I beg of you, if you're a patient, this is something that affects all of us, not just them. So please pass the ordinance for the $25 minimum wage. Thank you.
The next speaker is Leslie Brito. Leslie Brito.
Good evening, Mayor Emmanuel and council members. Leslie Brito, Baldwin Park resident for more than 25 years. Kaiser Permanente for 25 years, working on pediatrics. I've been here every week, and I want to make sure that you hear the same thing over and over again. I'm doing this not because of me. I'm doing this because these people who stand behind me, the majority of them, they are on call or temporary workers. They dispose them when they don't need them no more. They use them as a crazy 12 hours every day, 7/24, and they deserve better. And these are healthcare workers. They risk their life as we do. I'm about to retire. I'm one of those that are leaving because of COVID. I make up my mind. I'm ready to go. I'm doing this for whoever is behind me. and for the better of our community, the better of you guys, because you go to Kaiser. And I want to make sure that when you go, you feel confident and you feel secure when you go for the service. I'm begging you to pass this ordinance. I'm pretty sure you're aware that yesterday the law passed for fast food services $22. So they don't raise themselves. These people does. Every day we're wondering what's going to happen. Sometimes they work with minimum equipment. They get sick. They burning. We all burning. I'm burning myself. I'm making pretty good money. I don't need to work for a second job. I'm fine, but I'm begging you for these people who studied it, for those that are not even able to make decent life. They have to look for another job. So please, and another thing for those people who comes and do lobbyists, they have no clue about what they're talking about. They get paid to come and talk to you and change everything around. Kaiser Permanente and corporations make billions of dollars every 3 months, but they don't tell you that. So they have the capacity to pay us $25. It's nothing for them. It's like a feather taken away from a chick. So it's not going to affect them, but it's affecting us. We want to make sure when our members go to work, they feel confident. They're not stressing about paying the rent. They're not stressing about going back and figure it out if they're going to buy gasoline or they're going to buy milk. That's a big impact. It's not fair for them. And believe me, corporations, they make billions. You can search. They make billions of dollars every 3 months. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Christina H. Christine or Christina? I'm sorry, I can't really get the last name. Anderson? Yeah.
So good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name's Christina Anderson, and I've been a healthcare worker for 11 years. I'm speaking in support of raising the minimum wage for healthcare workers. There's a moral argument for why we should pay healthcare workers a living wage, but even objectively speaking, this is just good policy. In 2022 alone, nearly 1.7 million people have quit their healthcare jobs, equivalent to almost 3% of the healthcare workforce each month. Terry Hollingsworth, who is a vice president for the Hospital Association of Southern California, has stated that, quote, COVID has really stressed the system, unquote. According to hospital leaders, staffing shortages have caused hospitals to pay more for costly contract labor for nursing, technician, and other essential positions. Stabilizing the workforce through wage increases is a cost-saving measure, as the cost of managing churn and turnover is higher than the cost of investing in workers. We showed up, we served our community, this community, amid uncertainty and chaos. Many sacrificing their own health, some sacrificing their lives and well-being to do this work. So I urge you to please pass this ordinance tonight. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Mackie Peters.
Good evening, Mayor Estrada and council members. My name is Maki Peters, and I've had the great privilege of working with and representing the exceptional healthcare workers in this city throughout the pandemic. By the California Hospital Association's own estimation in a study published this year, we are in a full-blown staffing crisis, with 78% of hospitals reporting increase in staff turnover since before the pandemic. If we maintain the status quo, we will continue to allow the staffing crisis to worsen as workers leave for jobs with higher pay and lower risk to their health and well-being. Communities need healthcare workers, and there are healthcare workers who have come and spoken at this council after their long shifts at work, on their breaks whenever they can fit it into their lives, because this is about their livelihood. We have healthcare workers that are housing insecure, gainfully employed, and unable to make ends meet. It reminds me of when I was a healthcare worker, making $17 an hour and living in my car. I had to take on additional jobs as a server just to make ends meet, and that was in 2014. We clearly haven't done enough to improve the situation because we are an entire global pandemic later, and wages are stagnant and workers are still struggling. I just want to make clear that there are healthcare workers who are making less than $25 that were essential enough to be required to show up to work and risk exposure to COVID and lost their lives for less than $25 an hour. Healthcare workers deserve a fair living wage. The cities of Los Angeles, Long Beach, Downey, and Monterey Park have all adopted a healthcare worker minimum wage in their cities because it is the right thing to do. Some things that may come up later this evening, a question on why not including clinics. As you know, we know, and as our opponents know, you can't set wages for publicly funded institutions at the city level, so that is a misleading talking point. And also just want to make clear that Planned Parenthood has not taken a position on this measure. Thank you. Please support this tonight.
Next speaker is Rudy Redas. Rodas?
Hi, Baldwin Park City Council members. My name is Rudy Rodas. I've been working in Kaiser Baldwin Park since 1994, when only the medical office building was open. And I'm here to support the minimum wage campaign, and we just want you guys to back us up on this. We as EBS employees, we're risking our lives every single day, trying to do our best to maintain those rooms clean. And I know you guys like a city of Baldwin Park, you guys see Kaiser Baldwin Park as an empire, but an empire that is not organized. They're trying to sue contracting people right now, and we don't deserve that. They're saying that we're heroes, but they're not treating us like that. And we are risking our lives every single day. Thank you.
The next speaker is Nicole Ibarra.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Nicole Ibarra. I am a housekeeper at Kaiser Baldwin Park. I am a person just like you, living in these current hard times, where gas prices are at its highest, as well as the cost of putting a roof over our head. We can't even walk into a grocery store without paying less than $100 just for one night of dinner. I don't stand here in front of you being greedy, asking that you approve the minimum wage increase to $25 for healthcare workers. I'm here to ask that you approve it so I can continue to be a hard and dedicated worker here in Baldwin Park at Kaiser and also be able to support my family. Thank you.
The next speaker is Roxanne Preseda.
Hello, Mayor Estrada. My name is Roxy Preciado. I work at Kaiser Baldwin Park. I am supporting our healthcare minimum wage to be $25. I worked firsthand in the pandemic all throughout the time. I didn't have any time off. I've seen death I've seen where our hospital had over 280 patients positive with COVID when there were code after code after code. It was to the point where our hospital had 2 freezer trucks, 2 diesel trucks full of bodies, 6 bodies wide, 6 bodies high. And we were having to tag them. And it's just a really ugly experience to feel that we don't even make the $25. We can't even afford to make ends meet with the cost of gas, food, living. It's hard for some of us. We have single parents that are raising 2-3 children on less than $20 an hour. We're working short staff, we're underappreciated and overworked. So we just please ask if you can please pass the $25 an hour. Thank you.
Next speaker is Diana.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Diana Guamea. He trabajado por muchos años en Kaiser Permanente, por más de 20 años. Soy ciudadana de Baldwin Park por 30 años.
Good evening. My name is Diana Guavea, and I have been working at Kaiser Baldwin Park for more than 20 years. I've lived in Baldwin Park for 30 years.
He trabajado en el área de salud, cuidado de la salud para Kaiser Permanente. Seré breve. Hoy estoy aquí para apoyar la iniciativa del salario mínimo a $25 la hora. Para muchos de mis compañeros, muchos de ellos hubieran querido estar aquí presentes, pero debido a que muchos de ellos tienen trabajos, segundos trabajos en las tardes, para poder sostener a sus familias.
I've been a healthcare worker at Kaiser Permanente, and I'll be brief. I am here tonight to support the initiative for the $25 minimum wage, and I'm here on behalf of those co-workers of mine who would like to be here, but they can't because they need to be at a second job so that they can support themselves and their families.
No entiendo cómo hay personas y organizaciones que están en contra de esta medida, porque mis compañeros, como de housekeeping, de cocina, y todos ellos trabajaron muy duro y arriesgaron su salud y las de sus familias durante la pandemia para cuidar, estoy segura, algún familiar o algún amigo de ustedes presentes.
I cannot understand how there are people and organizations who are against the minimum wage when co-workers of mine, such as housekeepers and cooks, have worked hard and have risked their lives and those of their families in order to work during the pandemic and keep others safe, as those who are present here.
Para cuidar algún familiar o amigo de ellos, de los que aquí presentes.
Correction, in order to care for a family and friends of those who are present here.
¿Estoy segura? Me gustaría preguntarle a las personas en contra de esta iniciativa si ellos mantuvieran a sus familias con el sueldo de mis compañeros reciben hasta ahora. Por eso pienso que es, y les pido, que es justo, y les pido a los miembros de este consejo que aprueben la iniciativa de $25 la hora. Personalmente, yo como madre soltera de 2 hijos y tengo 2 trabajos, trabajo en el área de oncología, el cuidado de pacientes. Yo soy life technician y he arriesgado mi vida y he visto a mis compañeros, tanto de housekeeping, que tienen que entrar a los cuartos, arriesgándose, a veces sin protección, que no se les provee protección y a veces exhaustos de trabajar tantas horas. Y pienso que eso no es justo. No es justo porque todos aquí, y más de las personas cercanas a Kaiser, los de Baldwin Park, los ciudadanos, como sus familias, que estoy seguro que viven cerca, los miembros de este consejo, ellos van a necesitar del cuidado, van a necesitar cuando se enfermen y cuando tengan, entonces en ese momento van a entender la importancia que tienen los trabajadores en el área de la salud. Muchas gracias.
I want to ask again for your support for the minimum wage. And I ask those people who would oppose this, is it fair to ask for a law that provides for a $25 minimum wage, when I know from personally myself that as a single mother, I have to have an extra job in order to support my 2 children. I am one who works at the oncology department in patient care. I'm a lead tech, and I have personally seen that my coworkers have risked their lives. I have seen them enter rooms without protection. They are not provided protection. I see them go in and work when they're exhausted after many hours. I believe that it is unfair, and I would ask all of you council members to consider, as you are someone who live close by, I am sure, that if you ever do come to need to come in, you will need the attention of the healthcare workers, and therefore you will see that healthcare workers are important. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nairi Bagdasarian.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Nairi Bagdasarian, and I'm here today on behalf of the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership. I want to thank you for hearing me today and for the times I've addressed this body before. The partnership represents a collective of local governments, businesses, nonprofits, and higher education institutions committed to the mission of advancing the economic vitality and quality of life in the San Gabriel Valley. We're dedicated to the overall growth of the San Gabriel Valley, helping bring resources to our communities so that the economic and workforce development is possible. I'm here today to share our concerns on the proposed healthcare minimum wage ordinance being considered by council. Arbitrarily including some workers and not others that do the exact same job but have different places of employment sets a dangerous precedent in the community and for our region. This hodgepodge approach picks winners and losers and creates a regional race to the bottom. I'm glad to see the LADC was asked to do an analysis. However, according to the city's own staff report, the study was abbreviated and only focused on immediate short-term economic impacts and not the long-term impacts, as more time was needed for that kind of a report. Additionally, only a limited number of stakeholder interviews could be conducted in advance of today's meeting for that analysis. It is unclear to us why there is a hurried approach on this important matter. In the other cities that have passed similar ordinances, voters have demonstrated that they want to say and actively gather enough signatures to ultimately put this issue on future ballots. Baldwin Park did not gather enough signatures to put this on the ballot. Thanking our healthcare workers is commendable, but this approach is haphazard, it excludes hundreds of healthcare workers, and could deepen inequalities on our healthcare system further by jeopardizing care for Baldwin Park residents. Regarding these ordinances, the LA Times recently asked, why are city leaders picking winners and losers, and called this sloppy policymaking. Please do the right thing by being thoughtful in this process versus rushed and deliberate. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Adina Tessler.
Good evening, Baldwin Park City Council. My name is Adina Tessler, and I'm with the Hospital Association of Southern California. We represent more than 180 member hospitals and 35 health systems, including facilities in Baldwin Park. And I'm here tonight to comment on the proposed healthcare wage ordinance that Council is considering. First, I want to thank the Council and the City Manager for allowing us to share our concerns on this proposed ordinance and to include us in the dialogue. We appreciate that the City Council made an effort to better understand the effects of such a measure by working with LAEDC on a, albeit brief, economic impact analysis. While a more comprehensive long-term analysis is needed and recommended by LAEDC, the report provides a snapshot of what could happen if this wage measure is adopted. Job losses, higher prices, and a loss of quality and access to health care. The proposed ordinance, which would mandate 67% increases in the minimum wage for only certain workers, has far too many risks and long-term impacts, and the report itself encourages policymakers to consider and weigh all costs before moving forward. Baldwin Park is in a unique position to take that recommendation to heart and to take your time and explore your options. Further, because this measure did not garner enough signatures to be placed on the November ballot, the council is under no time constraints to make a decision on this ordinance. As an organization dedicated to improving patient care in the communities our hospitals serve, we wholeheartedly agree that healthcare workers deserve support, recognition, and a living wage for the work that they do. But this ordinance does not uplift all healthcare workers. Instead, it chooses to divide the healthcare workforce between private hospitals and all other healthcare workers in the city of Baldwin Park. Of the 9 cities where UHW attempted this measure, 2 are going to the ballot in November 2022, 3 are going to the ballot in 2024, and the other 3 have failed to act. So acting on this today would make Baldwin Park the only city implementing this ordinance. I wanted to comment also on some of the comments made by the folks that came up here earlier. A person working as a housekeeper in a facility, a medical facility, and not making even minimum wage is not working at the private hospitals that you're targeting. They might be working at a community clinic or at a home health care facility or at a senior nursing facility, but your ordinance will not be helping them. We urge you to take your time and review LAEDC's report and to think about how this will impact the healthcare workforce and your community's access to healthcare. We respectfully urge that the council vote no on this flawed measure. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Jaime Rojas.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Jaime Rojas. I represent a broad coalition of public and private hospitals and healthcare facilities, senior community organizations, businesses, and healthcare workers opposed to the exclusionary healthcare worker minimum wage ordinance. Last week, as you know, a letter was submitted to the City Council signed by 15 organizations to include El Proyecto del Barrio, California Senior Advocate League, Los Angeles County Medical Association, the Greater LA African American Chamber, Baldwin Park Business Federation, the LA Metro Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Regional Chamber of San Gabriel Valley and others. As noted in the letter, we wholeheartedly agree that healthcare workers deserve support, recognition, and a living wage for the work that they do. But this ordinance is exclusionary and the wrong approach, as mentioned before. Passing an ordinance city by city, including some workers, while excluding the vast majority, is simply not the way to go about, especially with collective bargaining agreements. An ordinance will make inequalities in our health system even worse by excluding workers at community health clinics and facilities that primarily serve uninsured, low-income, undocumented communities, as an ordinance will create staffing shortage and jeopardize access to the quality of health care in Baldwin Park's most disadvantaged and already underserved communities. The healthcare industry uniquely touches every single person in the city of Baldwin Park, and this ordinance is no different, that would create a greatly impact to each and every person. Also, the council is under no constraint to act and rush an economic analysis by LAEDC on a timeline set by this council, only examining short-term impacts versus long-term impacts. That approach is short-sighted and is a disservice to many healthcare workers in the city that would be excluded by this. My firm, back in 2021, worked pro bono with a private company, healthcare company, to provide free COVID testing drive-through here at Baldwin Park at the local high school. In 6 weeks, we served over 3,500 people free of charge. So we do know the community, we understand the needs of the community, and we full-heartedly work here within the community. Do not move on passing this ordinance tonight. Take the time, thoroughly think through the impacts here. We appreciate your consideration.
Mayor, that was the last speaker that filled a speaker card.
Great, thank you. If there's anybody who wants to speak who didn't fill out a speaker card, now is your time.
evening, Mayor and Council people. My name is Carmen Zaragoza. I've been a healthcare worker for 33 years with Kaiser. I am a person who did get COVID twice, and I did get it from work. We work hard. These housekeeping people, they work very hard. Kitchen people, the EVS people, they really, really need to be paid for what they do. It's very dangerous what they do. They're going in there, they need to disinfect the rooms and clean the rooms. I don't do that, but yet I got COVID from work. It's very important our healthcare workers get this minimum wage. With the future, you saw a room full of young girls here. These are our future healthcare workers too. I can guarantee that more than half of them will probably be healthcare workers. We got to do this for the people behind us. I'm almost out of Kaiser for retirement, but I still want to fight for this and fight for my coworkers that deserve it. I see how hard they work. I see how burned out they are. I've seen, I'm sorry, I haven't seen, but I have heard a nurse so stressed out that they committed suicide at work because they don't have enough people working, they're short-staffed, they're not getting all the equipment they need. So again, unless you work in that condition, like some people may not understand till they walk in our shoes, I really, really urge you to please consider it because again, one day, hope God willing, it doesn't happen. All of you are going to be patients. And I'm pretty sure the majority of you have Kaiser insurance. So you're going to want healthcare workers to take care of you properly and not be tired and stressed and so overworked. You deserve that care. The patients deserve that care. So I really, really urge you to please, please vote yes on passing this $25 an hour minimum wage. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm from El Monte, Julio Ramirez. I was a union member for many years, and we fought for the union. We make the union. We make the union. Kaiser, dirty on Saturdays and Sundays, sticks the test on the floors. Does the CEO care about it? No. Does the president of the union care about it? No. These people are fighting for $25. And where's their representatives? They're not here. You got 15,000, 10,000 people out there, nurses, doctors, and everybody. And then you got the robo-cops at Kaiser. Hey, sir, can you get me a bathroom so I can do number one, number two? Take a hike. You call human resource, take a hike. You senior citizen, they disrespect you. Is that what you want? These people are going to be picked on when they go back. You troublemakers. And it's hard when you become a union member. They lost, but they can get back on the ballot and fight for it. It's not easy, your color. When they look at you like a Mexican, do you speak Spanish or English? When you go in there, sir, can I use the restroom? When you see these nurses, they pick on you, the other ones. They don't care. They're making whatever they want. They disrespect these people. Respect them. Look out for them. As a member, I'm retired already, but they're putting their time.
Hey, Council. I've been living in Baldwin Park basically my whole life. I've been here since I was 5 years old. I saw the Kaiser be built. I've met many of the workers. Just like the lady behind me mentioned, a lot of the young ladies here, I'm sure they are going to work there because they live in this community. They're born and raised here. It's only natural for them to go. This is one of the biggest corporations in our area. They're going to get high, chances are they're going to work there. I'd like to address the lady who mentioned the winner-loser mentality. Honestly, that just sounds like those companies or workers that believe that they are losers, I guess, because they don't have a union representing them. They should go look for a union to represent them. They can work here at this Kaiser as well. Not all workers are being included. I'm not sure if anyone has ever heard, but there's a saying that says, all rising tides lift all boats, right? I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. So what that means is, with this industry, what's going to happen is you guys vote yes, everyone else is going to take a look and say, hey, why aren't we getting paid that much? Hey, let's go shake some trees. Let's see what we can shake loose. Let's go see if we can get some raises. Why don't we deserve $25? Guess what? You do deserve $25 an hour. You do put your life on the line. Those people can also, have a voice. They can also be represented. They can also go out and make that money. These healthcare workers, the union workers here, they will be setting the precedents for everyone else to be able to also get those $25 an hour. I don't know about the politics too much, but I guess she's not here. The young lady who was representing multiple whatever organizations and all these things, certain cities are not going to be included. I mean, I'm not even sure why we're even worried about other cities. These people, we're here for Baldwin Park, right? We're all community members here. I live here my whole life, like I mentioned. These are the people we're worried about. Why are you worried about people in Los Angeles? Who cares? Have them come here and work here. That's really what matters. We're here for us. We're here for Baldwin Park. We're not here for surrounding cities. I'm not really too worried about what it is that they're doing or what they're talking about. I'm worried about Baldwin Park. Thank you.
Mayor, elected officials, City of Baldwin Park. I like Jesse Plata, resident of Baldwin Park, and I've probably been living here longer than some of your ages. Anyway, let's getting down to this. Wages. Now, we have wages. People that are working for Kaiser. Now, very simple. Go and pick a profession that pays you what you want. Go and pick a profession that pays you the standard of living that you want. Don't be with this battle the rest of your life. You have a son or a daughter. I'll tell you very simple. When my son wanted a certain car, you need a job that pays you more. Simple as that. Go for training, educate yourself, and see what needs out there. That's the way that you're going to pick up yourself and not going around with, this doesn't cover living. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, the city tax. I went to 3 of the meetings when they were informing the public. 3 of the last 4 meetings. I went there. I saw the same people that were there, which was just under 25 persons. Some of them were residents of Baldwin Park. Some of them had a different purpose of being there. Now, that's something that, the way you put it, why not get that? Yes. But the way that I see the people that are here elected spending money and not being accountable for, I don't want to give you my wallet for you to start spending that money. I live right here, I shop right here, and I socialize right here, and I probably go out more than any of you have contact. Yes, you're out there when there's a parade or something, yes. But one-on-one or 1-on-2, you don't have the contact. I know that I can go and see 10, 15 persons that live here in Baldwin Park feel the same way. Now, just going and putting on there, I'll go to a project. Main Street, the bicycle path, that's a waste of money. You win and spend the money there. I never seen two bicyclists on in the same hour. Why do I want to turn my wallet over to you when you pick up this money and spin it left and right? Thank you.
Don Rios, resident. This thing about the city tax and everything, since I told you guys, I went to all the meetings and everything. When the time that people are not getting or $25, people are suffering on the rent, the food, the gas, and everything. And you guys turn around and try to put it into the for November. I would say if you guys get 200 votes within the city to pass it, it'll be too much. And I told you guys in the beginning, I don't like to work with people that don't understand the city. I understand the city. I've been here 45 years, okay? You guys can in another way, you guys start doing whatever you guys want. You're spending money that we don't have. Okay? I asked Enrique to let me know who was going to be in service for the weekends. You still haven't gotten back to me. Ron, you haven't gotten back to me either. You know, we're getting the fruit vendors, the flower vendors back into the city. Why are we losing so many businesses that are leaving Baldwin Park? You know, because the rent is high, you know, so they're leaving. Another thing, I was at the Walgreens the other day, and I was talking to one of the employees right there, and they tell me that people go in there and they shoplift and they have the video cameras on them, and the police goes over there and they tell them we can't do nothing about it with the videos and everything, you know. We had a stabbing right there down the street from Walgreens the other day, or during the weekend, I think. You know, it's something that you guys have to go out into the city and see what the people want. I understand what they were looking for. Better wages, yes. I worked for 35 years for an outfit. I was operation managers, and anything you would go into our laboratories, it was spotless. That's something that Kaiser doesn't have that, okay? Because they're not getting paid? I don't know. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm here supporting my friend today, and I didn't really have any words written down today, but I did get motivated to come up and speak really quick. My name is Xavier Figueroa, and I'm the owner of LA Trash Junkers. We are San Gabriel Valley's #1 veteran, family, and locally owned junk removal and property cleanout business. We are based here in Baldwin Park, and I wanted to thank you because our ad was put into the BP now, and it has brought me in business already, so thank you very much. With that being said, me and my wife, we're working to hire employees, and with that mindset, we're trying to hire employees at $25 an hour. Us being a small business and already having that mentality, it's just shocking to me that these large corporations don't already have that mindset for their employees, especially healthcare workers who have worked hard for these in these past 2 years, especially with COVID, the monkeypox, and everything that they've had to go through. But I just wanted to come up and share my story, my support for them, and hopefully everything goes great for them. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Catherine Lozier, Baldwin Park Library. The LA County Library has started a series of community feedback events. We have community sessions where customers and residents can share thoughts on services and programs through real-time polls and chats. These sessions are being held virtually online and by supervisory district. The session for library customers in Hilda Solis's District 1 is going to be taking place on Thursday, September 29th from 5:30 to 6:30. Not only do participants get a chance to affect real change in library services and strategic direction, but they also have an opportunity to win LA County Library swag, a Kindle, as well as gift cards that have been generously donated from our LA County Library Foundation. Now, if you don't have time to join a community session, we also have surveys that can be submitted online or via paper. If you come into the library, you can pick one up. And they can be submitted anonymously, or if you choose to give your name and email address, you can be entered in for prizes as well. And working in the library for the last 3 years, I've seen that these the feedback does initiate change. So please, if you have something you want us to do, or if you want to compliment us, we're always looking for compliments, please come in and give us your feedback. And then switching gears slightly, on next Thursday from 4 to 5, we have a program for teens ages 12 to 18. It's part of our adult one-on-one events. This is a series that teaches teens and tweens life skills. The event next Thursday is going to be mindfulness and mandalas. It's teaching teens not only how to practice mindfulness while drawing their own mandalas, but it's also ways for them to learn how to focus and relax. Thank you all so much for all that you do, and have a wonderful evening.
Good evening, Council, business owners since 1980 in Baldwin Park. I want to thank the city manager and the mayor. Numerous texts to you today and yesterday about getting rid of a violent homeless guy that we keep having repeat, but just not impressed with 24-hour service. We need service done quicker than that, because one guy destroyed a whole bus stop because we didn't act on it quicker. But thank you very much for the help that got the guy out of there today. Now, on the Measure BP, just say no. Why is the council members telling employees that there's going to be layoffs if this measure isn't passed? This measure was designed, which all these meetings were held, which nobody showed up to but except city workers. And what happens is, they're trying to now scare the employees that they're going to get laid off. Why? Because they're saying they're not going to have enough money. Well, the thing is, this whole BP thing with the sales tax is to put in soccer fields, to build up the community. It's not about paying more wages. We already pay $300,000 for a city finance director that isn't even certified. We pay Manny Carrillo over $270,000. This is ridiculous to pay that. These people are asking for a measly $25, which is very high, because if Kaiser isn't going to pay that, because you are. Your health premiums are going to go up. Everybody that's on HMO. Now then, we don't want you, the city, to promote this stuff with city workers and telling them and scaring them that you're going to be laying people off if you don't pass Measure BP, because it's a lie. Just like you don't say that you don't get a percentage of your city taxes from the measure. You do get city tax money. But the thing is, you want to get greedy. You want more. You want another $6 million to put in the city fund so you can pay wages that you shouldn't be paying. You need to look at yourself and get rid of this fiscal stuff of overpaying. This stuff with $25 an hour is ridiculous. These people can't afford it working there. They don't like it. I haven't heard anybody dying. Has anybody come up here and said a family member died because they worked at Kaiser? If you don't want to work there, get a real job somewhere else and get an education and work for it. My granddaughter goes to college. She's working for that. And the reason that she's working for that, because she wants a good job and she wants it to pay good. But these people want to whine, well, I worked so hard, I got to work 2 jobs. What do you think we all did back in the day? Yeah, I'm old, but I worked 2 jobs. When I wanted something, I worked for it. I didn't come up and whine and ask the city council to do something they shouldn't be doing. This is none of your business, and you should stay out of it.
Okay, I'm Javier Navarro. I've been a Baldwin Park resident for 40 years. I want to talk about the cooling centers down at the community center. I went in the other day and asked, where's the cooling center, the cooling area? They pointed me to some chairs in front of the ping pong tables. I don't want to go there for an hour, 2 hours, sit next to the ping pong tables. I want you to approve extending the hours at the senior center where people are sitting down, talking to their friends, watching TV, playing dominoes or whatever. We don't want to go next door and sit at a chair in front of the ping pong table. And you have the staff. When I was there, I saw 3 people at the reception area. You don't need 3 people there. You can send one next door to watch the seniors staying there at least till 6 o'clock. After 3 o'clock, everybody has to leave, and they're outside in the park benches, outside in the hot weather. They should stay there at least till 6 p.m., watching a movie, having a conversation with friends, comfortable chairs around a table, not next door in front of the ping pong table. Thank you. Oh, one thing. What's the city going to do about making the park safer, especially after that branch fell? I don't know if you're aware of it. Manny wasn't aware of it. This happened Saturday. So what is the city going to do to make it safer for the people to walk around the park? Okay, thank you.
Great. Anybody else? If not, I will go ahead and close public communication. We will address. Oh, go ahead.
My name is Rosie Leon, and I'm the owner of the Original Beauty Salon. I've been owning this place for 28 years. And this year has been very bad with homeless people, standing right in front of the alley, wherever I am, right in front of it. In the morning, I get there, and they're there, a bunch of people sleeping there. And in there, nobody goes and check on them. And, the police is a private place. It's for business. It's been 6 business around there, and nobody do nothing. I have pictures if you want to see. And they get there, and they sleep there. In the middle of the day, is a bunch of people there. They remove them from the back of the 99-cent store. They used to sleep in there. So they remove them, and they come back in the front of our business. And all day, they're there. And the police doesn't go and remove them or anything. And it's very bad. This year, The pandemia is making my business slow, and now the homeless, because they live there. I have pictures here. Anybody want to see it?
Get her address, please.
So I can give you on my card too, whatever is. Guy is asking for help. Now the police is not going to. They go to the back, they come to the front, and they just playing like a cat and a rat. Like they go there and they come here and they come here and they go there, and but they not remove them from the front. And people is not going. One thing, the business, the pandemic, and now the homeless. Carrying the people, because the people doesn't want to get in the business. And the pictures I show you is in front of my, I'm in the alley, but the homeless right in the front, and I'm in the back. So they don't want to go cross by the homeless. And thank you very much. I just ask for your help, because we need it. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? If not, I will officially close public communication. Staff, you can reach out to the plaza owner. I think one of the biggest issues is that businesses are struggling, but the property owners themselves are not doing anything about the situation. So if they are on private property, we do need the right person from the property management at the very least to come and fill out a no trespassing form with the police department, and then we can take care of it. But if they are on private property, it's up to the owner to decide whether they are trespassing or not, or whether they are loitering or not. So, okay. Yes, so we'll... Okay, so we'll make sure that code enforcement or PD reaches out to the property management, and then we can get those forms signed, and then we can do a better service there. I do want to let everybody know that we've actually been working very diligently. 2 weeks ago, our Baldwin Park PD host team went down to the waterbed with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and their host team. I was there along, and they did a lot of outreach. So they did outreach. They let everybody know that within 2 weeks. So this is one of the processes that happens. So we let them know that in 2 weeks there would be a cleanup, and during those 2 weeks they did periodically go out there and offer them services, make sure that they weren't displaced. And so we are making sure that we are pushing our efforts to help everybody, including our business owners and people on the streets. Measure BP. If you were here for that city council meeting, I abstained from it, so I don't have a position on it, and I don't talk to staff about it. I'm not sure where this idea came from, but there is some, whether I support it or not, I'm not fond of people spreading misinformation about the measure. And so, throughout the last weeks, I'm not saying anybody here, but throughout the last couple of weeks, we've seen this idea that the reason we're pushing for this Baldwin Park measure is because the city has made extensive purchases that we can't afford, and that is completely untrue, and it is misinformation that's being spread. We've bought new police cars, we've bought new equipment for everybody, and that's because it's highly needed, and we didn't spend it with general funds. We used ARPA dollars, which were a once in a lifetime grant funding to make sure that we overcame the pandemic and mitigated those issues that were being exacerbated because of the pandemic. So police services were needed, so we increased our services. We also had our flock system, which was successful just a couple of days ago. So a lot of these improvements and purchases that we made are vital to the operations of the city. And so I really encourage anybody who has any questions about why we're spending money on infrastructure, I really encourage you to take a walk around city council. I mean, if you've been here the last couple of months, our microphones go off here on the chambers, right? You see the telephones. I think the telephones are so old. The telephone system that the city uses is so old that if it were to go down, there's no customer service for that system. So look at the website, right? And so it's very important that you understand that we are actually making improvements and necessary changes to the systems to better serve you. So every expenditure we've made, we've done it with grant funding, with ARPA funding, with county funding, and we've made sure that we've not put a ding in our general fund or our general budget. So I do want to really be firm on that because I have heard a lot of that, and that is just clearly untrue. For the $25, of course, we'll be talking about that later, so I will save my comments on that. So, if any other
Mayor,
council members?
Yeah, Mayor, if I may?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to address some of the comments that were made on the Measure BP. You know, I don't want false information to be spread. So no one is saying that if Measure BP is passed, that we're going to have layoffs. I don't know where that came from, but that is absolutely false. The main reason why we conducted the community meetings and we had community input was to hear from the residents as to what they want to be, what they want to see be done with the money Measure BP will provide if passed by the voters. This is not something that we're implementing as a city council. This is something that the voters are going to have a chance to vote on come November 8th. Now, we heard from a lot of the residents, and one of their biggest concerns were more public safety. We're hearing the issues with the transients and the homeless. Well, we only have enough manpower to deal with certain situations at a time, and we're going to take higher priority cases first. So the transients are going to be at the bottom of the list if there's higher emergencies to be dealt with. So in order for us to be able to provide that, we need more revenue to be able to bring in more public safety, safety for our parks. We need to upkeep our facilities. We need to, build new facilities. We want a youth sports complex. We want to invest and keep having money for future generations for youth programs, sport, senior programs. But with the cost the way they are now and our operating budget, we have to look further. We can't just rely on what we have now. We have to look into the future and how we're going to be able to keep providing these services for our residents. Now, one of the things that the people don't understand is there's a misconception is, and I'm not saying that the county is doing this, but we don't know if in 2024, the County of Los Angeles will come in and put in another measure on the ballot like they did with Measure H back in 2017. If they do that, they're going to close our gap. And we as residents of Baldwin Park are going to be paying that higher tax and not benefit or reap the rewards of it. So for me as a resident of this city and looking into the future of our city, I would rather pay the sales tax now, close that gap, and keep 100% of that revenue in our city for our city services. This is not money that we're looking to provide to keep staff on board. We have the operating budget for that, but we need to look into the future of the city. And yes, we do receive 1% from the 9.5% that we currently pay. But again, I would rather keep that money in Baldwin Park versus it going to the County of Los Angeles, because as you can see, Measure H, we are only getting pennies on the dollar. So that was just my comment that I wanted to make regarding Measure BP. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem. Before I forget, I do, back on the idea that this tax measure is because of the expenditures we made is incredibly untrue. The idea of Measure BP was actually born before the 2020 election. So the reason it wasn't put on the ballot then was because we were at the height of the pandemic during the election. And of course, for obvious reasons, it wasn't put on there. So this isn't a new idea. It's not an idea that's come because of the investments we've made. It's an idea that's continuing, right? And so very important to keep that in mind. But thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for your comments. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns? Oh, it's just for the council. If not, we will go ahead and move to our consent calendar. So is there any item staff is looking to pull? Just the council.
Item 4, please.
Okay, and I will pull item number, I believe it's 8. So if there's no other items being pulled, I will make a motion to pass items number 1 through 7, excluding number 4 and 8. Can I get a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian?
Yes.
Councilmember Avila?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Sam, perhaps you could just give us a quick overview as to what item 4 means for the residents and for our city in our larger, safe streets initiatives that we're trying to do, and also with Vision Zero that we as a policy a while ago.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Hernandez. So we are very, very excited about bringing this project which has been in the works for many, many years. As Councilmember Garcia mentions most of the time, she was involved in a lot of the community involvement in bringing these projects about. This project is going to be the first leg of a 5-mile stretch of bike path throughout the Walnut Creek Wash, Big Dalton Wash, and the San Gabriel River. So this item is an agreement with LA County to allow us to take over the land, make the improvements, and maintain the bike path. So in terms of the way it connects, it plays very well into all of the efforts we've been doing lately in concerning complete streets and bike lanes. And as you've seen in the downtown area, we've installed a lot of improvements targeting bicycle safety, pedestrian safety, and this is going to play a big role in recreational activities, but as well as providing a safe path for bike enthusiasts and pedestrians.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. Again, this provides another open space for our residents and for visitors to be able to connect to our park and the other extensions that we have along the creek. This is again not only for bike enthusiasts but also for families that want to go out on a nice stroll in the evening or in the afternoon or the weekends. Along beautiful watershed that we have in our parks. So again, thank you. I have no further questions unless my colleagues do on this particular item.
Councilmember, if there are no other questions, then I'll make the motion to pass.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian?
Yes.
Councilmember Avila? Yes. Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Great. Item passes. Thank you for that. So we have item number 8 regarding a $50,000 grant from the COG, I believe. So, Manny, are you the one that's taking the lead on this grant?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do you mind just giving us a briefing on what this grant is for?
Sure, absolutely. The $50,000 was originally accepted to provide safe parking at the Serenity Homes project. Although the city selected a vendor, the vendor was unable to fulfill the requirement pertaining to insurance, and after further review, the safe parking probably was not the best program for that specific site, because we were only going to be servicing several cars per evening or per overnight. And so fast forward, the COG has been gracious enough for the city to reallocate the $50,000 into services that will specifically help out the community in regards to a wide array of services. So basically, the $50,000 will be directly re-inputted into the community in regards to homeless type of activities. Does the council have any further questions? I'd be more than happy to provide any specifics.
Yeah, so are we going to create a plan on how to spend it? Because I see that there are some suggestions, right? And so we want to make sure that we do the ones that are most in need in the area. So, for example, auto repair and registration. I know that people that are living in their cars are probably having issues with their car, or they're having issues with their registration. They have no registration. Their car's going to get towed. They're going to end up on the street, making their situation worse.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We already have a program in place that we're assisting individuals with their rent, deposit, automobile registration, insurance, and things of that nature. So this will just enhance some of our existing programs.
Great. Okay. Well, we definitely want to make sure we get an update once we see this money go into motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So does any questions from council?
Yeah, Manny, really quickly. So does that mean we're not going to have the pilot parking, overnight parking?
Yes.
program in our city?
Yes, sir. We will not have the pilot program. We had originally asked for over $100,000, but only $50,000. So we went from 12 months to 6 months, and the vendor that we had selected was just not able to fulfill the agreement. So Sam's crew in Public Works and working with the COG and the trust, they were moving very quickly, so we lost our window of opportunity at Serenity Homes. So we will be opening up that site on Saturday, September 24th. And after further review, a lot of individuals really didn't want to give up their specific parking space to park 5 to 6 vehicles on that specific site where they already have a permanent site where they're parking their vehicle. So in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best option to provide safe parking site at that specific facility.
No, I appreciate that. My request would be that we continue to look for a site and funding for overnight pilot program for a safe parking program, because again, that provides us another point of access where we can provide these folks that are residents that are living out of their cars a one-stop location where we can provide them wraparound services, but more importantly, safety for these individuals that are living out of their cars. And it also pulls them out of the residential neighborhoods that we have. That sometimes, we hear concerns from their neighbors and their colleagues. So if we can continue to look for funding and perhaps the different sites, when we looked at this, there was a multiple of locations. So perhaps, again, we can just look at, what that looks like as we look for additional funding. And that could be one of the tasks that we ask our grant writer to look for from the private side. Again, the Hilton Foundation provides a lot of funding for homeless services. And I don't believe we've received anything. I don't know if we've actually applied for any programs from them or funding from, but that would be my suggestion, is to continue to look for additional funding so we can provide this pilot program, because it works in other cities, and I like to be able to see that implemented here in our city too.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great. So if there's no more questions, comments, concerns, I'll make a motion to pass the item. Can I get a second? City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian?
Yes.
Councilmember Avila? Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for that. Motion passes. Item number 9, we have a approval of an agenda template for all legislative meetings, and I believe that they are pretty similar. It seems that the only thing that changes is the color of the fonts. Is that kind of the main one, Chief Deputy City Clerk?
Yes, that's accurate, Mayor. So in the first template, sorry, I'm pulling hope my computer doesn't crash. I'm pulling it up now. The first template has, this is actually staff's preferred template. It has blue and black font as well as the logo in the center. The interchangeable text is the meeting type, date, and time located on the left-hand top corner, as well as the meeting body on the left-hand top corner. Template number 2 is identical to template A, so template B is identical to template A with the exception of the blackout font. Text is the same, it's interchangeable. The body of the agenda will also have changes depending on the board secretary. And template C is the one that's a little different. It has black font with the logo on the far left-hand top corner, also with the interchangeable text.
Great. And staff's recommended was A?
I left it open-ended, but this is staff's preferred template.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it's staff that's going to work on the agenda. So, I mean, if that's staff's recommendation, then I don't mind going with that.
I just have a couple questions, if that's
Yes,
okay.
go ahead.
In regards to the font size that you have here, is it size 11 or 12?
It's size 12.
Okay. And then the other part under reasonable accommodations, when I read that second sentence, reasonable accommodations and auxiliary aids, is that referring to reasonable accommodations here to entering our city council or for
88.
the material? Because the first sentence speaks to the agenda with disabilities.
It's for ADA compliance, but we will make sure that all the language is flushed out by the time we go live or before we go live.
Okay,
But yes,
that's all I ask. Thank you.
and Councilmember Hernandez, I also took note regarding the page numbers on the agendas. That's one of my pet peeves as well, so we'll have that integrated.
Thank you. That helps.
Nice. So sounds like we're all okay with A. All right.
I actually have some input on that, Mayor. The blue font is a little tricky on the eyes. Are those just my eyes, or how do the rest of you see it? So the blue font on A, template A, versus template B, which is black font.
You know, I actually think that the blue helps me look at it better.
Okay, then it's just my eyes. I'll go with staff's recommendation.
Yeah, because it kind of breaks it up a little bit. So I think it goes with the theme that we have
The
up at the
theme.
top. Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, Baldwin Park Braves.
There you go.
All right. Okay, we'll move along. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so template A it is. A motion, right? Okay, sure. A motion to take template A. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you for that. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian,
Yes.
Councilmember Avila, Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
The hardest decision I've ever made, but yes.
All right, so motion passes. Thank you for that. So we have, of course, item number 10, minimum wage for healthcare workers, economic impact analysis, and presentation of ordinance. Staff recommends that the City Council consider the economic impact analysis, consider the minimum wage for healthcare workers draft ordinance, and authorize one new position. Okay, so Enrique, you mind giving us kind of a little bit about the LEADC study and how we came about getting this?
Yes, Mayor. Let me, just as a brief background, from the time that the City Council affirmed the certificate of insufficiency, deeming the ballot initiative as not qualified, you have provided staff with a number of directional instructions. The first one, in one of the previous meetings, you had instructed staff to pursue a potential brokered compromise with the two parties, meaning the proponent, SEIU UHW, and the opponent, meaning the Hospital Association of Southern California. And so we did that, and I reached out to both sides and had a number of conversations with separate conversations with both sides, but we were unsuccessful in trying to broker a deal or broker a compromise. So we abandoned that effort and we reported that very finding to the City Council. Then Council instructed us to, in the previous meeting, instructed us to bring forward for consideration the ordinance or the language that was presented on the ballot initiative verbatim by the proponent. And we have done that. It's on the staff report verbatim as it was presented in the ballot initiative. And then you also instructed us to, at the previous meeting, to conduct an expeditious, and I mean expeditious in a matter of effectively less than 2 weeks, if not only 2 weeks, economic impact study to be presented today, parallel and simultaneously as you were to discuss the ordinance as you consider the ordinance adoption or no adoption, but certainly consider the language on the ballot initiative. So immediately following the council meeting of 2 weeks ago, the last meeting of August, I immediately went to work along with the staff to try to secure a firm that could conduct a study that had the qualifications to be able to do an economic impact analysis, which, you know, is a rather specialized field of work. Speaking with the economists, in effect, and, you know, there's very few of them that venture out into the real work and outside of academia. Not very many firms do that. So through a series of efforts in trying to reach the right firm, we attempted to contact a few other companies, but one stood out and one stepped up. And that is the LAEDC, the LA County Economic Development Corporation, which is in effect a nonprofit think tank of sorts. I think of them as a think tank. And for this particular study, they definitely are that. And so we were fortunate to have been able to cajole the LAEDC to take on the assignment, knowing that we only had 2 weeks or less to be able to complete it, working through the most recent holiday, Labor Day weekend, and working through the weekends to complete it. And so we were able to get the analysis done. Yes, it's abbreviated, and you will hear that directly from LAEDC right now, and that we are going to go through a PowerPoint presentation on the gist of the report itself. And, you know, they were as thorough as they were possibly able to be in the span of 2 weeks. And I think without further ado, Mayor, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask Shannon to come up to the podium and present her study and her staff study. And it'll be 10 to 15 minutes, she promised me, no more than that. But I think you will, the City Council will appreciate the substance of the analysis. So Shannon, if you can please present it.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for having me here tonight to share the key findings of our brief study looking into the potential impacts related to a proposed minimum wage for private healthcare facilities in the city of Baldwin Park. Next slide. I serve as the director of the Institute for Applied Economics, housed at LAEDC, the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation. As the Southern California region's premier economic development organization, LAEDC is a nonprofit, public benefit organization dedicated to collaboratively advancing opportunity and prosperity for all here in Los Angeles County. Our institute offers objective economic and policy research for public agencies and private firms. We're honored to have been engaged by the City of Baldwin Park to produce this report and hope that it will provide some context on the potential economic implications of implementing a healthcare sector minimum wage increase to $25 per hour for covered private healthcare facilities in the City of Baldwin Park. Next slide. In 2022, this year, the Service Employees International Union United Healthcare Workers West, a labor union which represents over 100,000 workers across California, circulated petitions in 9 cities in Los Angeles County, including Baldwin Park. An earlier speaker gave an update on all of those initiatives across the city, so to save time, I will skip that. So next slide. Baldwin Park's initiative measure is similar to the other measures. It seeks to increase the minimum wage to $25 per hour for employees working at covered healthcare facilities in the city. And this increase represents a significant 67% increase in the minimum wage for eligible workers at covered facilities. The initiative measure applies only to private hospitals and clinics and excludes public healthcare employers. It excludes county and government-owned hospitals because it cannot legally mandate wage levels for these facilities. The initiative measure states that as that covered healthcare facility, they may obtain a one-year waiver from the increased minimum wage requirement if the facility can show that compliance with the new minimum wage will significantly impact its ability to operate effectively. The initiative measure language prohibits covered employers from adjusting to cost increases due to the minimum wage increase by reducing premium pay rates, reducing employee benefits, reducing work hours, laying off employees, or increasing charges for parking, work-related materials, or equipment. However, it is possible that employment adjustments will be made before the minimum wage goes into effect or during the waiver period for employers who are granted a waiver. Next slide. Covered healthcare facilities include a subset of privately owned facilities, namely hospitals, outpatient clinics, dialysis clinics, psychiatric hospitals and facilities that are a part of an integrated healthcare delivery system connected to a private hospital. In Baldwin Park, this includes DaVita Baldwin Park Dialysis, Advanced Dialysis Center, Kindred Hospital Baldwin Park, and Kaiser Permanente Baldwin Park Medical Center. The Kaiser Permanente facility is the city's largest single employer, while healthcare is the largest employer among industries. There are no public healthcare facilities in the city of Baldwin Park. Next slide. Affected healthcare workers include workers specifically providing healthcare-related services, such as clinicians, nurses, certified nursing assistants, and technicians. In addition, the proposed ordinance is designed to cover workers employed at covered facilities that do not directly provide healthcare services, such as maintenance workers, janitors, housekeepers, and office clerical workers. Next slide. The proponents of the initiatives, the Service Employees International Union, United Healthcare Workers West, believe that the initiative measure would solve the staffing crisis at hospitals while rewarding healthcare workers for their continued commitment to patients over the course of the pandemic, and by doing so, improve both access to and quality of care in hospitals in Baldwin Park. They believe the perceived benefits outweigh the perceived risks of the initiative measure. Next slide. The industry urges caution about the unknown spillover effects of the ordinance and the impacts it may have on non-covered facilities and other industries. The HASC organization has labeled the initiative deeply flawed and inequitable. The industry believes the perceived risks outweigh the perceived benefits of the initiative measure. Next slide. Before we look deeper into the potential impacts of the proposed measure, for context, we present a brief overview of the healthcare industry in Baldwin Park. In total, there are 70 healthcare establishments in the city. The healthcare industry as a whole accounts for 18% of the city's employment base, most of which works in the city's hospitals. Covered facilities in Baldwin Park, as mentioned, include Kaiser Permanente, Kindred Hospital, DaVita Baldwin Park Dialysis Center, and the Advanced Dialysis Center, and you can see employment estimates associated with those covered facilities on the slide. Next slide. If we look at the concentration of facilities through the city, we see that ambulatory health care is distributed throughout. Hospitals are located in the south, and residential care facilities are clustered along the east. If we look at where healthcare workers live across the city, we don't see a clustering effect. Next slide. The minimum wage proposal will likely involve a number of short and long-term trade-offs, and economic theory and empirical evidence can provide us with some insight regarding these potential trade-offs associated with the proposed minimum wage increase. Potential benefits include increased labor income to remaining employed low-wage workers in covered healthcare facilities, initially earning below the higher minimum wage, increase in the quantity of labor supplied and retention in certain covered healthcare occupations, short-run increase in morale and productivity for covered healthcare workers subject to the minimum wage increase. And potential costs include short-run employment losses, particularly for low-wage workers in covered healthcare facilities, an increase in the long-run business exits, employment losses, and reduced future employment growth and business entry for covered occupations, and non-labor adjustments such as reduced business profits, price increases, and quality and access reductions to pay for increased labor costs. Next slide. We performed a risk analysis to better understand gross profits and labor cost intensity of healthcare industries in the city of Baldwin Park. On average, the healthcare industry operates on narrower profit margins compared to the city's economy as a whole, only 5.5% compared to the all-industry average of 16.5%. A number of the analyzed healthcare industry sectors in the risk assessment are characterized by razor-thin and even negative gross operating surpluses. This means that many affected facilities may be unable to cover the increase in healthcare costs brought on by the minimum wage increase by reducing profits, and they will have to cover cost increases in other ways. Next slide. Labor costs already make up a significant portion of total costs in Baldwin Park's healthcare industry, and labor cost intensity is much higher in every analyzed healthcare industry sector than for the all-industry average. On average, all industries in Baldwin Park have a labor cost intensity of 33.8% of total output or gross revenues, while the average across healthcare industries is 56% of total output. This means the proposed 67% increase in the minimum wage for covered private healthcare facilities represents a significant increase in labor costs and therefore overall costs for the healthcare sector. The resulting increase in labor costs can be financed in a number of ways, including increasing prices for patients, reducing the quality of healthcare services, and reducing profits. Even reduced profits may end up decreasing quality and quantity of healthcare services to patients. For example, affected facilities may be unable to purchase new capital equipment, expand their facilities, or repair and replace existing equipment as a result. Next slide. When we look at estimating the possible outcomes of the proposed minimum wage increase on short-run employment and labor income, there are three possible outcomes. Total employment and total labor income both decrease. Total employment and total labor income increase. And total employment decreases and total labor income increases. Next slide. We see that the last possible outcome is what we are anticipating here. So assuming that the existing empirical estimates of short-run labor market reactions to a minimum wage increase hold, an estimated 14 to 29 jobs may be lost in the short run as a result of the proposed minimum wage increase. Job losses are associated with an estimated short-run loss in labor income of around 1.5 to 2.9 million. However, of employees in the city's covered healthcare facilities now earning the new minimum wage of $25 per hour, it may have a direct increase of income estimated to equal 9.3 to 9.4 million. In the net short run, economic impact in terms of increased economic output, labor income, and tax revenues of the increase in labor income to employees previously making less than the minimum wage exceeds the economic losses in terms of these variables resulting from the anticipated job loss. Next slide. This brief report, the brief time allotted for the study precluded us from generating any long-term impact estimates, but we can outline several potential long-term outcomes, including the potential impact of the minimum wage increase on current employment, which due to the potential negative and positive effects on long-run employment, in the long run, that net impact on jobs in the industry is really ambiguous. The potential impact of minimum wage increase on future employment growth, this is the invisible job losses related to any foregone economic activity. The impact on business exits and entry. The implementation of the measure will likely put some businesses at increased risk of closure and relocation, and also has the potential to decrease incentives for new businesses to open or relocate. Next slide. The initiative measures prohibitions and non-labor impacts. So trying to prohibit one type of an economic adjustment, in this case, employment adjustments, will likely result in other non-prohibited reactions. Adjustments will be more concentrated in certain unprohibited changes, such as in reduced profits or quality reductions. Enforcement limitations may serve to reduce the effectiveness of the measure's prohibitions, and enforcement of the measure represents an economic cost. Then we have potential spillover effects to other industries that can also occur, as other industries are competing for the same lower wage labor pool as the covered healthcare facilities. Next slide. So to recap, Healthcare services industries in Baldwin Park have lower average gross operating surplus and a higher labor cost intensity. That's 5.5% and 56% respectively, and that's compared to 16.5% and 33% across all industries in the city. An estimated 14 to 29 jobs may be lost in the short run due to the proposed minimum wage increase. The estimated net short-run increase in labor income resulting from the proposed minimum wage is $6.6 million to $8.2 million. There are possible unintended economic consequences that may result in terms of higher prices, reduced access, lower business profits, and quality access reductions. In the long run, it may result in some losses of currently employed workers in private healthcare, in the private healthcare industry, as well as job growth below what otherwise would have occurred. It may result in increased attraction and reduced exits in the impacted occupations, accompanied by an increase in labor quality, which will dampen negative labor demand effects. Throughout the study and our research, we've put forth two recommendations in regards to the ordinance, and that is to consider and weigh the potential costs and benefits, both intended and unintended, that may result due to implementation of the proposed minimum wage increase. And second, if implemented, if you decide to proceed with that tonight, we recommend that you commission a 5-year study reviewing the impact of the minimum wage on healthcare business establishments, healthcare workers, patients, and government to really understand what kind of long-term implications the ordinance has. Next slide. Thank you all for your time tonight. If you're interested, if the public's interested in reading the full report, you can find it on the LADC website starting tomorrow.
Great, thank you. And are you able to answer some of our questions? Sure. Okay. So, did you have access to the Berkeley Research Group paper?
We did see the Berkeley Research paper.
So in the Berkeley Research Group paper, they are estimating that costs are going to skyrocket, and it's my understanding that that paper is assuming that because this passes, everybody else above $25 is going to get a $5 increase. So when you did the math, are you considering that scenario?
So that would be one of the longer-term impacts that we didn't have the time to do in the brief period. So we were just looking at the direct impact of those that were going to be affected by the wage initially.
Okay. And so we're talking about 4,000, we're talking about a healthcare workforce that has over 4,000 people. And if we were to do this, we're talking about a potential 30 jobs being eliminated less than 1%.
In the short run. But typically your short run impacts are smaller. It's your longer term impacts that tend to have larger effects.
And then so when we're talking about the negative effects, we're talking about this idea that we could potentially lose an organization, or we could, there could be other effects. But when you're talking about these, are you considering the fact that there's just let the train pass. So in the ordinance itself, there's a clause that says that if you are able to show us or prove that you are unable to afford these wages, you are exempt from it for a year. So when you're talking about this idea that we could lose or organizations could lose the possibility of being able to upgrade their equipment or or cover other costs, are you considering that they are going to have that possibility to exempt themselves if they are able to provide that the backing for it?
So even if there is that clause that allows them to demonstrate that it's going to impact their ability to operate efficiently, because of increased labor costs over the longer run, the investment that would have taken place without the ordinance is what really is going to impact some of that. That's going to be the effect that's going to have more of a negative effect.
Okay. All right. I don't know if any other council members have any questions.
Yeah. Okay. In regards to the long-term investment, as you just outlined, can you just kind of explain the rationale a little bit more as to why that would be the case, or what's the justification for not having a organization not be able to reinvest into tools, equipment, and whatever else?
So, based upon their revenues, they have a finite amount of resources that they have to allocate to all of their expenses. And if you have one bucket that grows larger, it comes at the expense of other buckets, assuming that they're still earning the same rates or the same amount of revenues on a yearly basis. So by increasing their labor costs and maybe introducing a little bit of employers being uncomfortable, not knowing if ordinances are going to expand or what that might lead to, they'll tend to be a little more conservative in their growth plans, and also we will reallocate their resources to increase labor costs versus expansion.
No, thank you. And in your analysis, or in the same frame, does that also include like a percentage of increase of profits over time also in the next 5 years? Because I can't imagine you would just do a flat number and carry that across for the next 5 years, given the historic profit margins that healthcare has seen in the last couple of years. Let's just be fair. Whatever. Is he part of your staff?
Yes.
Oh, okay, please. If you can speak to the. No, thank you. Appreciate that.
In regards to the labor cost percentage, because we're looking at short-term estimates here, we're not really working with the window of 5 years. And so there are a lot of long-term considerations within it, but we didn't feel comfortable going out that far. And so looking at that 1 year of data, we felt comfortable using that data point for this year of analysis.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you for being fair for that. No other question.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from council?
No? I'm happy to, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. This is something that's near and dear to me. My family are janitors, have worked as janitors. They're also been private business owners over time. So this is something that I'm a Kaiser patient. They've been providing me great service, not only to me and to my family. In fact, I had a great surgery there, and I understand the roles and responsibilities of a lot of the people that work there, from the admin staff to the healthcare workers to the technicians who clean everything and so forth. So for me, it's a very simple thing to do. Yes, if our premiums go up, by 2 or 3 cents, in the aggregate number of their total clients, that's, I think, is a very comfortable thing for me to do, on behalf of, the healthcare workers that we have. Because again, what this does, let's just put this in relationship. A $25 increase amounts to $52,000 a year. It's not very much. I would say it's actually below the average medium income of our city for our residents. I believe it's 67,000 or so. And we have 4.3 individuals living in the city. So again, this is something that's I think is important to provide livable wage, but also the comfort for individuals to be able to have one job. My parents, my mom as a janitor, had multiple jobs and had to work from 5 all the way to 5 in the morning or 3 in the morning to be able to, provide for all of us. So I understand, the working class challenges that some families have to go to, have multiple jobs, and that takes away from the families. We had individuals speak to that earlier today, and it's tough, right? Especially if you're raising a single child or whatever the case may be. There is an impact. Not just for the actual individual that's working, but also for the families at home. So I see this as a holistic approach, and so I'll leave it at that. But the one thing I would ask is, Enrique, in regards to the position here that we're requesting of the the management assistants, can you just elaborate a little bit more as to why that's required and why do we have to hire a full-time person for that?
Yes, Councilmember Hernandez, there's an enforcement expectation that we would have to ensure that there's compliance should the council pass the ordinance. With it comes ensuring that facilities are complying with the ordinance. It being a local law, of course, we would want to enforce it. So whether it's based on a complaint or us proactively checking, either way, we would want to have the staff that will give that would be able to comply, that would be able to ensure compliance. We don't have staff that would do that, and if we were to have this ordinance in place, the expectation should be that we ought to enforce it. That's why we're asking for a management assistant to do that.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you. Thank you for the information you provided of actually just the short impact it would make either way. When doing studies, I think it's important that we look at the full picture, and just providing a short impact of the pros and the cons, I don't feel is enough information for a city, an entity to go by to make a decision that is so important for everybody. The pandemic brought about a lot of heartache to a lot of families, a lot of workers in all the industries. Last time I spoke, and it brought me to tears because I took my daughter to Kaiser when she had COVID. And I appreciated the work that was being done. At the same time, I also worked with my city workers that had to provide food for our residents and had to be out there working to make sure that our residents were fed, that they were being kept safe when we were doing the COVID test. I also looked at the school district employees that also had to work. We had the custodians that had to be working. We had the kitchen staff that had to provide food for all of our families, and we're out there serving the food to our families during the pandemic. So it has been a difficult situation for everybody, and I understand that. And we all deserve to make $25 an hour or more. One thing that we didn't discuss here is the impact that it will take on the city. The city has tried and is very short on police officers right now. We're very short staffed, and we have some positions that we cannot fill because right now we don't have the means to fill those positions, and the safety of our community is very important, which that community is some of our healthcare workers, some of our school district employees, some of our city employees. We have to look at the whole picture. And we can't fund those police officers right now. We have departments that are not fully staffed because we cannot afford to fill those positions at this time. We have parks and recreation staff that are working overtime because we don't have enough staff members to work our events that are for our community members. This is very difficult. This is very difficult. I'm a union member. And of course, I work for the school district, and we have a lot of unions. We have the teachers union, we have the classified union, I'm the classified union. We have union members here in our city. We have different unions being representative that seek, opportunities. They talk to us, we do the bargaining, and we try to give them the best that we can. As an organization, everybody should put their best foot forward to work for their employees and to provide the best for them. Sometimes I understand when bargaining, and it's happened with my union, We don't get everything that we ask for, but I know for a fact that my union representatives bargain to do the best that they can to give us the best possible outcome. And I trust my union representative to go out there and to bargain for me. They just had to bargain for us recently. And I know we just recently bargained with our city employees, and they understood that at this time may not be the right time for certain things that they need. And so we talked to them and we bargained and we came to a compromise. And we will sit down with them again to continue bargaining, because we understand how important our employees are, how important it is to have a living wage. We understand that as a group. The thing about a collective bargaining unit, it's a process. And I'm going to read this, which working people through their unions. And as a union member, I pay my fees. I pay my monthly fees for my union representatives to represent me and to ask and to work for me, to give me the best possible work environment, benefits, and pay that they can negotiate with my organization. And in this case, it's the Baldwin Park Unified School District. And so they sit there, they negotiate my contract, they negotiate my pay, and the terms of of employment, whether we're going to have an increase this year, next year, in the next 2 years. They bargain for me, and they work for me to give me the best possible outcome. We have the Kaiser Union here, SEIU UHW, that works for the Kaiser employees. They try to put the measure on the ballot, and unfortunately, there was not enough signatures. And that was really heartbreaking, because I think the whole city, we're bargaining for and we're investing in our community. But the city should have had a say-so. Our community members should have had a say-so. As a council, we can do certain things, but we have to look at the whole picture. I have to think of the Kaiser Union. I have to think of the school district union. I have to think of our unions here within my city. I know for a fact we have a lot of employees in my city that do not make $25 an hour. I know for a fact that the school district does not make $25 an hour. We are also being shortchanged when it comes to staff. We have no teacher subs. We have no instructional aid subs. That management has to step into the classroom when an employee calls out sick, because we don't have enough teachers that want to work. We don't have enough instructional aides that want to work. We don't have enough custodians. There's custodian. I have to have a custodian for safety reason, morning and afternoon. Well, guess what? Sometimes I don't have one. They're the ones that come in and alarm the school. They make sure everything's open and set up for staff to come in. Well, sometimes I have to do that because I don't have a custodian. And if there's an emergency, a spill, a child, something happens, I have to go to that classroom. So I understand what it's like to be short-staffed. I understand that the pandemic has brought about all these shortages in different industries. Everybody is short-staffed. And unfortunately, we have to think of everything and the cost that's going to impact our city. We already spent $17,080 on this research that you did. That was one cost from our general fund. That is our community money. We also have to hire somebody to manage. It's going to be a management assistant. It's going to have a total impact on our general fund of $73,829 in direct annual salary, plus estimated $49,851 in benefits, including a pension and insurance-related costs, with a total annual cost
of $123,680 to our city. Now, this will bring a total deficit of $66,860 to the 22-23 budget. What does that mean? That means our city will be in the red because we would have to spend money to accept a $25 minimum wage for Kaiser employees, which I believe they deserve. It is unfair that the representatives from Kaiser, the management team, and the union cannot sit down and negotiate for their staff that are so valuable. And by doing that, it's impacting our budget in our city. It's impacting all of my departments because we told them, no, we cannot fund your police officer right now. We cannot fund your human resources. We cannot fund a lot of departments because we don't have the money. Yet, how will we explain to our staff that we're going to go ahead and spend all this money to fix a problem that another organization has? Meaning the management of Kaiser and the bargaining unit. I cannot fit this in my head. I absolutely agree that they deserve, but they need to fight. The union needs to fight harder for them, and management needs to step up to the plate and give these employees what they deserve. Maybe if they can't do the $25 an hour right now, start increasing it a little bit at a time, year by year, until they reach that in the next maybe 4 years. But to ask the city to be in the deficit and be on the red because Kaiser management couldn't meet with the union to show their staff how much they care, it's a little unfair. Not only that, it puts us in a bind. If we do this for this union, I know UPS has a union and they're in the city of Baldwin Park. I could already see that union coming to the city of Baldwin Park. And now we have to spend another $123,680 to staff that management. I know Food for Less has a union. I could already see that coming. The school district has a union. I could already see that coming. But what about our employees? We can't even pay them $25 an hour. And I think, honestly, it's a little unfair that I could say yes to pay the healthcare workers what their management should have made a decision on, what their union should have fought harder for to make sure that they got that pay that they deserve. And I'm going to shortchange my staff here in the city of Baldwin Park. How am I going to explain to them that, no, I can't give you $25 an hour, but I will vote for another organization to pay somebody else that much, and on top of that, I will spend $123,000, almost $24,000 a year on staffing that I am not able to give you because I can't afford it. I can't wrap that around my head because we don't have a full study of the long-term impact. I think the union should go back to the table and talk to management and do whatever you have to do to make sure you meet at least halfway to get that pay that you deserve. Because are you needed? Absolutely. Just like my staff here is needed, just like the school employees are needed, just like the teachers and instructional aides. But we can't fix another organization's problem. That's why we have union representatives, and that's why, as a union member, I pay my fees. And I talked to a lot of union representatives after this came up. And I told them what was going on. And they all agree with me that the union representative and the bargaining unit needs to go back to the table. And they need to fight for their employees. They need to fight for what they deserve. Because I don't think it's fair that I'm going to shortchange my staff in the city of Baldwin Park and put myself in a situation that I'm going to have other unions within our city come and ask for the same and then continue to short the city funds at the end of the year and impact our budget. It's unfair. It's unfair to everybody. There's no right solution right now. And I know what I'm saying may not be very popular, but if you stop and think about everything that I said, how it is affecting so many people, not just the Kaiser employees, it makes sense. And it makes a lot of sense for the union to go back to that table and make management meet you at least halfway and not give up. And that's what bargaining is. Fighting for your people. Fighting for your people. And as union members, you need to demand that from your representatives. If you need to pick it, you need to pick it. I've been on picket lines, and I don't cross picket lines because I am a union member, and I respect that you need a better pay. But again, it's unfair for me to shortchange my staff and put myself in a situation where other organizations are going to come to the city and ask the same and continue to impact the budget. The budget that we're trying to increase to provide more services for the residents. I have to look at the whole picture, not just the Kaiser employees, but the whole city of Baldwin Park. We need to make sure that what we're doing, it's the best for everybody, not just for a small group. And as union members, I recommend that you go back to your union bargaining unit and demand that they go back to the table and make management meet you halfway. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes. And before you start, sorry. In the meantime, can you bring up your presentation again, where you talk about? I think you put that there was some city. It affected the city taxes. Yes. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I really, really struggled with this item. I don't think I've ever focused on an item so much. Because I honestly do believe that these healthcare workers should receive $25 an hour. I'm in full support of them receiving a livable wage. I hear their stories, they're compelling. I understand, I get it. But I also have to look at the whole, for me, to be honest with you, I don't even think we needed this impact analysis report because, I've done my due diligence. I've spoken with the hospital association, and it's frustrating for me to know that we as a city have taken the step to pay for this report when in fact the hospital association did not blink an eye to spend thousands, maybe even millions of dollars in all the cities that they had opposed this initiative in to send out mail pieces to confuse the residents and social media advertisements. So, I know that they have the money because they have the money to oppose this, but yet they don't have the money to focus on retaining staff. If they know that they're already on, there's a 500,000 shortage of healthcare workers across the state of California, how are you going to expect to retain staff? I hear from these staff members having to work double shifts because they don't have enough staff and they're overworked and they're burdened with work. I get all of that. I understand that, and I'm compassionate towards all of that. But when you put yourself in a situation the way we are here as a council to have to decide who is worthy of $25 an hour and who is not, I ask myself, what type of door are we opening here? Who's going to come knocking on our door next? Is it going to be the grocery workers? Is it going to be other union members, requesting, or other industries requesting and saying, hey, we're worthy of $25 an hour. We were essential workers during the pandemic. So I see both sides of the story, and I fully support these healthcare workers and really wish that they got their $25 an hour. But, us to set an ordinance and to dictate who is going to be paying a minimum wage of $25 an hour, I don't know if it's smart for us to put ourselves in this situation, because as I stated, what other industry is going to come next? What about our own union members within our city staff? They're going to come request $25 an hour and say that they're not worthy of it if we deny it for them. So it's almost as if we do it for one, we're going to do it for all. Also, the cost that it's impacting the city. Our responsibility is also to make sure that we are looking for the healthiness of the finances of the city, and how we're going to continue to be able to keep staff, hire more staff that we desperately need, and still provide those services and those resources to our residents. Those are some of my top priorities, to make sure that we are fiscally responsible for the finances of our city. And here we are, spending an additional $140,000 if this was to pass, which would affect our fiscal 22-23 budget. And yes, will it bankrupt us? No, because luckily we do have reserves, but this will put a deficit for this fiscal year's budget. So for me, it's very tough. I've made the arguments that I've heard from the hospital associations, how this is going to affect the community clinics. I don't buy those arguments. I've reached out to many of the community clinics in our city, San Jose Medical Clinic, Baldwin Park Medical Center, Central City Community, Asian Pacific, Proyecto del Barrio, Pacifica Sur, Pacific Clinics. And let me tell you something, that neither one of these clinics, none of the administrators who answered my call even gave me the time and day to even address this ordinance with them and ask them if and how would this impact them if this was to pass as an ordinance. So for me, I took it as to where if it wasn't important for them to have this discussion, then obviously it's not going to impact them. The only one that took my call and addressed my questions and my concerns was the Asian Pacific Healthcare Venture, who I spoke with by the name of Valerie. And when I asked her, she said that this was not going to impact her clinic. So, all of these arguments that the hospital association has, I don't buy them. I don't think that they're valid. The only reason why I would not be able to support this ordinance is for the simple fact that we are opening up Pandora's box by passing this ordinance, because if we give it to one, we're going to have to give it to the others. And I don't know if we can put ourselves in that situation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not,
I'm happy to go again. If that's okay. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, I agree with, I was there with Mayor Pro Tem when we met at the Hospital Association, and there's a lot of things to this. I think you showed us the potential impact on sales tax revenue, and it was a 0.4. So I'm assuming that that's a positive increase in what people would be expending in our community. Is that correct?
You want to see it on the slide?
Yeah, just so we're talking about the same thing.
Mark is the keeper of the slides. So if you wouldn't mind sharing the presentation. It's that's of the healthcare industry, so it's a little farther than that.
Yeah, it's going to be towards the end. Towards the end.
Yeah, keep going. There.
That one, let me check my screen.
So the tax revenue is associated with the increase in labor income.
So it says
that's spent through household spending as well.
So it's total fiscal impact in the millions, and so you put state and local tax revenues 0.31 or anywhere from 0.31 to 0.38. So that's an increase in our revenue because people now have expendable dollars, right? And so, I mean, that's one of the things that we have to consider, right? If people have money, they're going to spend in the economy. And so if people don't have money, all they're going to be able to do is cover their basic needs if they can cover their basic needs. And so this isn't a cost exclusively to the city. I understand that we don't want to pay for that report, but at the end of the day, it would look really bad on the council to go off a report that one of these parties paid for, and it just doesn't look good. So I think that was a cost that we had to take on. As for the new staff member that we would need, it doesn't have to be a direct hire where we have to give them CalPERS and pensions. this could be a subcontracted position with Department of Labor or any other entity in the county that's able to do this job for us. And I don't think that's unheard of. We've subcontracted multiple times with other agencies. This, the council, myself, and anybody here, I think, was open to discussion. There was no in between. I don't think the hospital association was willing to budge. I don't know if you had that discussion with them, but since day one, we have seen misinformation, and to me, that's a clear answer that this isn't something that can be done, right? I'm looking at the mailers right here, and I wish I had all of them with me, but I don't. And so, first one says, measure excludes workers at 78% of healthcare facilities in Baldwin Park. Well, we just saw that 78% of actual workers work in 20% of our facilities. So you're switching the numbers and you're misinforming people and pushing them to get afraid of what can happen if you give people what they deserve, right? I have this other one where it says, reject the unequal pay measure, and then it's a person of color. We use words like discriminatory when discriminatory means that you're doing something purposely based on a protected class. This isn't based on a protected class. Paying people based on the number of employees in an organization is completely legal, and it's been done anywhere and everywhere. In West Hollywood, it's done with hotels. In the county, it's done based on how many employees you have. So to me, this idea that we spread this misinformation rather than have a real discussion is a clear indicator that there's just not enough information. There's not enough data to prove that this is going to hurt anybody. Kaiser's not going to leave. Kaiser has I don't know how many acres they have. They're expanding as they go. Kindred is not going to leave. A 30 job loss, 1%. If somebody's making $25 an hour in that family, they're going to be able to take care of that whole family with or without that job loss. And to me, it is angering, and it's honestly disgusting that we sit here and we put discriminatory talk into healthcare workers when we know that discriminatory acts actually hurt those healthcare workers. So to sit here and claim that we are hurting workers by doing this is a complete lie, and it is incredibly disgusting. Healthcare workers struggle. They go through the stress. They go to work for $15, $17, less than $20 an hour. They're wiping excrement. They're wiping feces. They're wiping bacterial infections that are overpouring. Nobody here would do that for that amount of dollars. So whether they are uneducated or not, whether you see them fit or not, they are doing jobs that no other one of us would see, and they are engaging in dangerous situations and bringing them back home to their families, because most of these healthcare workers are people of color. They're working class. They're immigrant people that live in a household that has 2 or more generations. And so what happens when this person goes into Kaiser, Kindred, it's not just about Kaiser, by the way. Kindred and other organizations don't have representation with the union. So what happens when these people go, they risk themselves during a full-on pandemic, and then they take that virus back home. And we're telling people to take care, but the people being the risk the most are the ones trying to help everybody else. It comes down to that, right? And so, and not just this, but I think the last mailer I got, or the last social media account I saw, said something about discriminatory wages, and then it has a picture of a hijab. What are we implying? Or what are we trying to say that this council or the city's about? And so if you can't provide to me the data or the facts, you're leading me to believe that you just don't want to do this. And I think that that's what it comes down to. You just don't want to do this. And if you would just tell me that you don't want to do this, then I would have more respect for the effort. But when you spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to deceive the voter and spreading this half-truth or twisted truth, which is not truth at all, that's a dangerous problem that you're doing when it comes to healthcare. Healthcare is already unattainable for most of us. Healthcare workers are struggling. The workers that go in there and are relying on them are struggling. So when you tell me that premiums are going to go up, premiums go up every year. Kaiser has the most expensive premiums, and they have the less. They have the least amount of impact on them because they're private healthcare. You don't get to just go into Kaiser and see a doctor. I don't even get to go to Kaiser and just see a doctor. And I have Kaiser. I have to wait 2 weeks to see a doctor. And by the time I see that doctor, I'm already fixed. I feel better. And so what do we? So when you're telling me this, and then people are going to Kaiser and they're waiting 2 to 3 hours to see their doctor, or they can't get an appointment, but you're telling me that increasing the minimum wage is going to hurt the people that can't get access to healthcare now. Well, how is the current situation helping them? Because these people don't want to do that job anymore because it's just not worth it. It's not worth the pay. It's not worth their mental health. It's not worth their physical health. It's not worth the amount of time that they lose with their families. We're talking about safety. If families could work one job and they could go back home and spend that time with their children, our communities would be better off because they would have those role models in their life. rather than them being out on the streets or relying on the bad on the bad type of people taking care of them, right? And so, to me, it's simple. It's different. A janitor at Kaiser or a janitor at Kindred is not the same as a janitor at Food for Less. But even though they all deserve respect, and every part of labor is and should be respected. But when you're at Kaiser, you're risking a pandemic. You just risked one pandemic. We saw Kaiser on I believe on the Atlantic on a big newspaper where there was a full-on 10 or 4-hour wait because they just couldn't get through the patients. These people are going through real stress, real economic stress, not just economic, but real mental stress. And that's going to stick with them after they spend that $17 an hour, after the hospital association spends all these $10,000 on ads, right? And after everything else, this is going to go with them to their lifetime. And this affects them. This is going to affect the way they develop, and this is the way they're going to grow. And that is a problem, and we should be addressing that. And everybody does deserve $25 an hour. And if I could pay city $25 an hour, I would, but it's a whole different bucket of money. So we cannot compare city staff to private employees because they're not getting paid from the same place. However, it's important that we do keep pushing, and we did what we could for our employees. We gave them a $5,000 bonus, no strings attached. I haven't heard that from places like the dialysis center. I've heard they get a bonus and they have to sign a contract that they're going to stay there for 2 more years. Why? Because they can't afford. Because they're not that they can't afford it, but they're not willing to pay more to keep people there. So they're forcing them to stay there rather than pushing up the standards of living for their workers. It's pretty simple to me. And I really do ask staff, our council, to understand that. If we sat here and every time I made a decision, I'd say, well, who else is going to come to me? Well, if more people come to me, that's good. However, I don't think that that's the case here. It's very different when we're talking about healthcare workers and any other industry. And we haven't seen any other grocery workers or any of them never came to us even during the hero pay era when people were getting hero pay. So to me, it's not the same. To me, these are the people that are taking care of you when you need surgery, when you need some sort of antibiotic, when you need stitches, when you have an open wound. You're going to a place where it needs to be sanitary for the doctor to operate, for the nurse to check you. So that EBS system, anybody else, they're essential and they're very important to that process, whether we want to see it or not. And so, yes, when I go into a hospital, I want to be taken care of efficiently. And I want to make sure that the place is clean and that the people there are proud to do their job and they're not half doing it because they just no longer have even the will to do their job anymore because it's just bringing on more cost than gain. So council doesn't have any more comments. I would make the motion.
Mayor.
I haven't. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'd like to say a few words.
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, let me say that I have been supportive of healthcare workers at Kaiser, janitors, nurses, and we've had conversations. I personally have had conversations with management at Kaiser in the past in support of healthcare workers, and I fully appreciate all that the healthcare workers have, what they've gone through during COVID. It was such a time of chaos and uncertainty, and they were right there at the front line. And so I recognize all of that, and I appreciate the words and the experiences that were shared this evening. I do agree with some of my colleagues here in saying that it does set a bad precedent for our city council to take up this item on the dais. For one, the signatures weren't collected to support this measure going to the ballot and going to the voters, which I would have preferred to have seen the voters take up this issue. Do we have legislative authority? Yes, apparently we do. But I agree that it sets bad precedent for other businesses in our community. And I would love to be able to say, hey, everybody in the city of Baldwin Park, minimum $25, including our own staff. But I understand we grapple with budget constraints. And so, I do agree that the bargaining units, in meeting with management at some of these healthcare facilities, I would ask that we consider sending a letter and encouraging management to do right by the healthcare workers that really contribute, to the quality of their service. And without these healthcare workers, that's the foundation of their business. Without the hygiene and the cleanliness and the environment that is required to serve patients. And so I think what we can do is, continue to consider this issue, study this issue. We have received this report from the LAEDC, and it tells a story. It tells a story and it informs us. But I agree that, we don't have to make the ultimate decision tonight, but maybe instead we can send a letter to management encouraging these organizations to really step up for their people, because being that they were at the front line during COVID, especially, it would seem to me like they're very deserving. And these organizations do seem very capable to me to be able to do that. So I would ask that we do that, encourage, management through letter, and then maybe we take this up at a later time. Doesn't have to be today or next month, but maybe by us encouraging management, it leaves the door open for a future, because maybe in the future we may have a different opinion. We may not be neutral. We may have more concern for healthcare workers in our community. So I think the decision tonight is not final. We still continue to inform ourselves, but I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Damian and Councilmember Avila that taking up this item tonight and, taking legislative action would set a bad precedent. And I don't feel comfortable. I don't know enough of the bigger picture to make that decision tonight. So, let's continue to encourage and ally, and facilitate wherever we can. And I think that there's still, we still can influence the process for these healthcare workers without having to take the legislative action tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. In regards to the salary that's highlighted here in the report of 100, the deficit, is that for a 12-month period, Enrique?
Correct, Councilmember Hernandez. It's a yearly salary.
Got it. So that's assuming that person would have been hired today, and so that 66,000 would have been as of today, moving forward. Correct? Current budget?
It's yearly. You're right. To normalize it to what the actual would be in year one, it depends on when this fiscal year the person would be hired. Okay. It then assumes a full year salary
moving forward,
the subsequent year. Yeah.
Right. I appreciate that, because again, part of what we do have as a legislative body is a decision to decide as to when we enact this. So a suggestion, Mr. Mayor, is perhaps to enact this. If you make your motion, as a suggestion is starting January 1st or February of 2023. What that will then do is significantly reduce the 33,000 to maybe 30,000 or even less of a deficit for that position that staff is requesting. More importantly, what I would suggest is in that interim between now and if this is enacted in January or February, that staff work to look to see who we can contract out to find cost savings instead of using the general fund. And then we could ask staff to come back, hopefully by November or so or sooner, with options for us to look at should this pass this evening or at whenever that might be. Thank you.
Is that your motion, Councilmember Hernandez?
No, I believe the mayor had wanted to speak to.
So I would say, without that, when we do the second reading, when does something get enacted?
Mr. Mayor, after the second reading, it would be enacted 30 days after the second reading.
So I would say we can enact it in 60 days. You know, based on what's happened in other cities, there will more than likely be a referendum effort which will stall this going forward. So I wouldn't say that we should run on looking for this person right away or subcontracting it. I think subcontracting is going to be the way to go, cutting our costs short. But we would have to see what's going to happen with that portion after the enactment of the ordinance. I think that would kind of meet us halfway. Councilmember Hernandez, what do you think? So the effective date would be 60 days from the date of passing.
So, Mr. Mayor, if we were to do the second reading at our next meeting, that would be September 21st. 60 days after that would be, I think, what you're discussing.
Time frame, just
around November.
I do math in public.
September, October, November, I think.
November?
And you had said January, February.
I would say if we can do just January 1st, just clean. I don't think it. I mean, it'd be great to enact it sooner, but I think that just gives us enough flexibility to look for that outside contractor and so forth. And whatever happens on the legal side of it, let that has nothing to do with us. That's for the time being, is what I would suggest.
Okay. Does anybody have any other input on the effective date?
I have a comment.
Yes.
It's not the effective date that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about making the organization accountable and responsible for taking care of their employees, and the union continuing to fight to organize. If I have to walk the picket line with you, if I have to do that, then I will do that, because this organization is not stepping up to their employees. It's not doing what they deserve. It's about the long-term effects, not just the quick fix right now.
Gotcha. Okay. So So nobody else has any input on the effective date? Okay, so I'll make a motion to pass the ordinance with the amended start date of January 1st, 2023. Can I get a second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Estrada?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Damian?
No.
Councilmember Avila?
No.
Councilmember Garcia?
No.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for that, City Clerk. So motion fails, actually. So, I just want to share that I am incredibly disappointed in the people who have called essential workers heroes for the past 2 years. For the past 2 years, people of color, immigrants, our community, our people have been out there on the front lines working incredibly hard to take care of us. And so it was incredibly important for me to make sure that the city council either walk the walk or stop the talk. It's up to everybody to defend their position. Me personally, I will continue to support our essential workers in any and every single way possible. As a family member of multiple people who are working in this, I have firsthand seen people go home and douse themselves in Lysol because they are afraid of being able to be safe within the people that they love. And so to me, this wasn't just about the unions. It wasn't just about increasing the wages, about setting a standard here in the city of Baldwin Park, because we are the hub of the valley, and it is time that we step up and that we become the hub of change and that we set the example for the rest of the San Gabriel Valley.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
And with all due respect, your comment with walk the walk or the talk, we're all entitled to our opinions. That's why there's 5 council members on the council. And I think that we all think in a different way. By no means does that mean that we don't support our healthcare workers, our essential workers, or any of our workers. The fact of the matter is that when you are setting a legislative action to pay someone a $25 minimum wage, and you have others coming knocking at your door later on, how are you going to tell them that they're not worthy of those $25 an hour? unless you're going to go ahead and set a $25 minimum wage for the entire city, including our city staff. We wouldn't be able to substantiate that financially within our city staff if we were to do that. So, it's not that we don't respect our healthcare workers or feel that they don't, deserve the $25 an hour. I support them fully, but that comment was uncalled for.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you. Yes, and just to touch back, I am a union member, and I respect the union members. However, I do hold the representatives and the bargaining unit responsible for the benefits that I get while they are negotiating for me. I'm concerned about all of our city staff. I'm concerned about everybody in our city, not just a small group of people that definitely deserve the $25 minimum wage, but all of our staff also deserves that. District employees also deserve it. A lot of staff deserves it, and I'm not making a decision just based on one group. I need to make sure that everybody will benefit from it. Again, union negotiation team should have fought harder, should have stood up to the organization to make sure that they were receiving the wages that they deserve. Do they make a lot of money? Absolutely. But in what way is that our responsibility to negotiate? They need to make their organization accountable and the representatives that are representing them in the union. So I do support them, but I cannot make a decision based on mistakes that were made while in the bargaining unit. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, Councilmember Hernandez.
Again, to my colleagues, again, that's why we all have different opinions and so forth, and I, respect those. I may not agree with them, but I certainly respect them, and, we'll move on to the next issue and so forth. In regards to, as I see myself as an elected individual, part of my role is to, fight for others that unfortunately have not been able to, obtain what they want. We did that. I at least did that, and I think the rest of my colleagues did it for rent control, right? The first time and then the second time. So again, we have taken positions where, we fight for those without the voices and we fight for those that have the voices. But that's just, again, the way I was raised, the way I will continue to, legislate. And, if another union comes, looking to increase, wages, I'm open to the discussion. It's not a bad thing. The one thing I would say is, like, an example is, I recently had a conversation with our staff where, we're paying entry level paying for a street worker is $18 an hour. I mean, that's barely $37,000 a year. And there's a reason for why we're not filling up the positions in our city is because no one wants to go do the hard work for that amount of money. I mean, it's just plain and simple. When you can go work across the street at Jack in a Box for $20 and get, similar benefits, and, do what you need to do. So again, this is about, qualifying, but also prioritizing. We talked about public safety. We had a very thorough discussion around that. I'm very supportive, very happy that the council, allow us to unfreeze, I believe, 7 positions and add an additional CSO position. And we're talking about crime, right? So if we want to prioritize what our needs are, then I'm happy to have that discussion. And I will always prioritize public safety because in my view, public safety is what provides the foundation of a safe community. And that's what brings in business. That's what makes the community safer. So again, back to, this item of, making something livable wage for some, again, a livable wage of $52,000 in LA County, that's not very much, and sometimes some folks don't have those opportunities to uplift themselves. And, again, in my role, I see myself as trying to help those that can. And that want to, right? It's a reason for why we invest a lot of millions of dollars into our homeless outreach in communities, because again, we believe that those individuals are going to uplift themselves and move into prosperous lives. So yes, I have no problem, fighting for folks and advocating for folks, whether they're represented or not. And I'll continue to do so. But again, I'm disappointed tonight, but as we've said in the past, is we'll continue to fight, and more importantly, there might be another item that we advocate with my colleagues that oppose today's motion. And again, that's just the way that's what politics is. And I appreciate the dialogue and your comments, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We are at the end of our agenda. Councilwoman Garcia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. We took this item up in the study session, so we're good on this.
All right, good. So before we end, I do want to ask staff to entertain the request of the Presbyterian Church. It looks like they are willing to partner with Habitat for Humanity to build affordable homeownership opportunities on that lot. And then based on the grant funding that we have provided to Habitat for Humanity to build new housing, they want to see if that is something that they can apply for. So we want to make sure we entertain that. All right.
Mr. Mayor, we also still have to report out a closed session.
Yes, of course. City Attorney, can you report out?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to report out that in the case entitled Romero v. City of Baldwin Park, the city has settled that case for $250,000. That is a complete and full settlement. The case is now over, and a dismissal has been filed with prejudice. That concludes my report. That's the only reportable action, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. And then one more item before I forget. We do want to see our military banners get revamped so we can prioritize commemorating our veterans. So if it's okay with staff, with council, I'd like to see staff start that process. All right, seeing no opposition, I will move to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second? Any objections? If not, meeting is adjourned.